Chapter 481. In the depths of the celestial realm, Chu Bei swung his sword and separated Aoqing's head from his body. However, Aoqing was an immortal king after all. He immediately returned his head to its original position and then used a secret technique to attach it to his neck. After this experience, Aoqing did not immediately attack again. Instead, he stared at Chu Bei with incomparable vigilance, and there was even some fear in his eyes. After a long while, Aoqing looked at Yuanchu and Taishu. Yuanchu and Taishu looked at each other and nodded at the same time, as if they had made a unanimous decision. The next moment, boom! In the starry sky, a fist carrying resplendent immortal light, as crystalline as jade and as brilliant as the morning glow, smashed towards Chu Bei's head. This was Taishu Immortal King's attack. Bang! A large foot followed closely behind, instantly appearing above Chu Bei and stomping down fiercely, ostentatious and domineering. This was Yuanchu Immortal King's attack. Ever since they saw Aoqing's head being cut off by Chu Bei, Taishu and Yuanchu's gazes became sharp. In the celestial realm, they could be said to be a three-man gang, and their opinions on everything were the same. In terms of individual strength, they were slightly inferior to Pan Wang, but when the three of them worked together, even Pan Wang could only endure. Therefore, when they sensed Aoqing's pleading gaze, they immediately attacked. Aoqing roared. He also attacked. He opened his mouth and spat out a river of stars, which transformed into a sword embryo. Like a dancing true dragon, it slashed towards Chu Bei. Even if the three of you attack together, it's still far from enough. Chu Bei was expressionless, and his emotions did not change from beginning to end. It was as if in his eyes, whether it was Aoqing alone or the three of them, there was no difference. As his calm voice fell, the frequency of Chu Bei's sword swinging increased. The wisps of golden sword light began to condense, as if they had become corporeal, stirring up the starry sky. Rumble. Chu Bei stepped on the starry sky, holding the immortal slaying sword in his hand, and charged forward. Amidst the soul-shaking rumbles, for divine rainbows interweaved in the depths of the celestial realm. The strength of that mysterious immortal king is too terrifying. He actually forced Aoqing Immortal King, Taishu Immortal King, and Yuanchu Immortal King to join forces. The most terrifying thing is that it is not the slightest bit weaker than the three great immortal kings joining forces. No matter what the outcome of this battle is, this mysterious immortal king will be recorded as a major event in the immortal realm. Perhaps even after millions of years, it will still be talked about by the world. Since ancient times, no one has ever been able to face three celestial kings alone. Countless cultivators from the immortal region stared blankly at the distant battlefield. Their pupils constricted, their throats quivered, and their faces were filled with shock. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Sure Hao, Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the others' expressions were grave. Even though they had incomparable confidence in Chu Bei's strength, right now, the other party was facing three immortal domain immortal kings at the same time. They couldn't help but feel worried. Pan King, if that lord loses, please help us. Ao Feng and Gan Yi looked at Pan King and offered their help with cupped fists. Pan Wang nodded. When that time comes, I will make a move. Clang! A metal ringing sound sounded from the battlefield. Then, one of the four interweaving divine rainbows flew out. This was Aoqing Immortal King. Right when everyone thought that he would quickly join the battlefield, his body exploded, turning into a pile of flesh. The flesh Aoqing turned into seemed to have a wave of mysterious power, preventing his body from healing. Honglong. Another muffled noise sounded. A second divine rainbow flew out. This was Yuanchu Immortal King. He was hacked by the immortal killing sword. Before he could even release a miserable cry, his soul and body already broke apart. He was the same as Aoqing, not dying either. He was doing everything he could to recover, but it was incomparably slow. Damn it! In the intense battlefield, only Taishu Immortal King with the greatest cultivation was left. Ever since Aoqing and Taichu were blasted out of the battlefield one after another, the pressure on him multiplied, continuously backing up in defeat. Taishu Immortal King roared out. He ignited his source essence blood, displaying an unmatched secret method. Natural laws, order, great Tao, all of them rumbled together, slaughtering his way towards Chu Bei. It was dazzling to the extreme. Unfortunately, it was useless. On the battlefield, Chu Bei swung his sword again. The dazzling sword light instantly landed on Taisher Immortal King's chest. Pooh! Taisher Immortal King coughed out blood. He was sent flying. His entire body was covered in cracks, suffering heavy injuries. But before he could recover, Chu Bei appeared in front of him, stabbing out with an even more terrifying sword. With a swish, Taisher Immortal King's soul and body also exploded, floating in the starry sky, releasing a resplendent light. He won. Looking at the scene on the battlefield, the spectating Immortal Region cultivators recovered from their daze. They looked at each other, speechless. This ending was too shocking for them. It caught them off guard. That mysterious Immortal King of unknown origin not only blocked the attacks of Yuanchu, Aoqing, and Taisher, but also seriously injured them. What kind of terrifying combat strength was this? Master One, I never expected Senior to already be powerful to this extent. While looking at the 3 piles of flesh on the battlefield, Shi Hao, Meng Tianzheng, and Immortal Wang stared blankly for a moment. Then, they revealed looks of joy. Their expressions moved. Now, it seems like there's no need for my help at all, Pan King muttered to himself. From his expression, he was also shocked by this result. He was shocked not only because Chu Bei defeated the 3 Immortal Kings, but even more so because he actually suppressed 3 Immortal Kings without being injured in the slightest. You previously said that Immortal Kings don't need a reason to kill, so this one will start with you. Chu Bei's eyes landed on Aoqing's pile of flesh. Then, that voice that didn't carry the slightest bit of emotion shook the starry sky, spreading through Immortal Domain. The vigorous voice carried terrifying might, shocking all of Immortal Domain's cultivators. Their bodies began to tremble inexplicably. When his voice fell, Chu Bei pointed the immortal killing sword at Aoqing. Ripples surged from the tip of the sword, a golden disc appearing from the ripples. Collect. An indifferent syllable sounded from Chu Bei's mouth. Immediately afterwards, unmatched divine chains of order surged from the golden disc. Chi. Under the eyes of millions and millions of cultivators, Aoqing's exploded flesh that hadn't been reassembled yet was dragged into the disc by the divine chains of order. Then, a type of strange grinding noise sounded from every corner of Immortal Domain, as if it was a type of chewing sound. Let me out. What exactly are you trying to do to me? In that instant, Aoqing's miserable screams of pain sounded from within the giant golden bowl, his voice carrying fear, as if he was currently suffering an irresistible torment. This was pain not even an immortal king could endure. Millions and millions of cultivators sucked in a cold breath of air, looking at the disc in front of the golden long sword in Chu Bei's hands in fear, all of them shivering. The disc was shining, especially at the center of the disc, even more so surging with 9-colored immortal radiance. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. With the passage of time, Aoqing's shrill cries disappeared, and along with them, the soul-stirring chewing sounds disappeared. This situation is the same as when Anlin and Shuchuo were killed. Their souls and bodies were all used to feed that disc. Looking at this familiar scene, Meng Tianzheng, Wang Changsheng, Zhao Haoyan, and the others looked at each other in shock. Lord Aoqing's voice disappeared. Is he dead? Could this disc be of the same level as the sword in his hand? Are they both the Dharma treasures of that mysterious immortal king? Why did I see a mouth in that disc just now? Was it my imagination? The millions and millions of cultivators in Immortal Domain were in a daze, their voices trembling with fear. Just now, they had personally witnessed the withering of an immortal king, a true death. It's your turn. After dealing with Aoqing, Chu Bei looked at Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu. No, looking at the approaching Chu Bei, the 2 piles of flesh and blood that Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu had transformed into released a blinding light, and their fearful voices drifted through the starry sky. Fellow Taoist, the era of darkness has descended. You can't kill anymore. Just as Chu Bei was about to attack again, an ethereal voice came from the depths of the immortal domain, and then 6 figures appeared. Rumble. The next moment, the immortal domain rumbled, and all kinds of great Tao runes flickered. In the depths, 6 supreme figures crossed the starry sky, their auras majestic. Inadvertently, the pressure he exuded was suffocating, almost suffocating to the point of suffocation. In the blink of an eye, 6 terrifying beings arrived in the sky above Panwang City, bringing with them terrifying fluctuations. Even you guys have come out of seclusion. Recognizing the origins of the 6 beings, Panwang and the group of perfected immortals were shocked. These 6 beings were all immortal kings from different ancient lands in the immortal domain. In terms of seniority, they were born several eras earlier than Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu. They could be said to be overlords of the immortal domain. Are they here for ouching? Meng Tianzheng, Wang Changsheng, Zhao Haoyan, and the others frowned. Immortal King Hong Tian, we beg you to save us. Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu seemed to have found a life-saving straw. They immediately pleaded to the oldest white-haired elder among the 6. Fellow immortal, you have a grudge with Ouching. You have already killed him. Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu are only helping you. Let it go. The white-haired elder glanced at the 2 piles of minced meat and sighed at Chu Bei. Hearing the white-haired elder's words, Ao Feng and Gan Yi, the 2 quasi-immortal kings, frowned, their expressions extremely ugly. Although this was the first time they had seen the 6 giants of the immortal domain, they had long heard of their names. Even the weakest among them was probably stronger than Panwang. Not to mention that they have already attacked me. Just the fact that they want to refine the 9 heavens and 10 earths is enough for them to die tens of thousands of times. Chu Bei calmly looked at the 6 giants of the immortal domain, not affected by their pressure at all. Hearing Chu Bei's words, the white-haired elder didn't reply. Instead, he tilted his head and looked at the 5 people beside him, communicating with their eyes. Before long, the positions of the 6 great immortal kings changed, and they formed a circle around Chu Bei. They were all wrapped in primal chaos, each guarding an area as they coldly stared at Chu Bei. What are the 6 ancestors doing? Could it be that they are also going to attack this mysterious immortal king? From our perspective, this mysterious immortal king wants to kill Lord Yuanchu and Lord Genesis Supreme of the immortal domain. He should be our enemy. But the 6 ancestors don't have to attack together, right? To be honest, I feel that this mysterious immortal king's actions are not wrong. After all, he is doing this for the 9 heavens and 10 earths. This time, Ouching and Lord Yuanchu's actions are really too extreme. Seeing the white-haired elder and the other 5 surround Chu Bei, the expressions of the true immortals and even pseudo-celestial kings of the celestial realm changed drastically. Perhaps an even more terrifying battle was about to take place. It was also at this moment that the cultivators above Pan King City swiftly left, as if they were afraid of being affected by the terrifying battle that could possibly take place in the next moment. Fellow immortal, are you really so stubborn? The white-haired elder asked Chu Bei again, a cold glint in his eyes. His eyes were wrapped in primal chaos. Their ending was already decided from the moment I made my move. Chu Bei's expression was indifferent, as if he was saying a very ordinary sentence, completely unaffected. It is not easy to cultivate to become a celestial king. Ouching has already withered, and if they follow the same path, that would be too much of a pity. Fellow immortal, you should be merciful, another celestial king said. Chu Bei smiled as he looked at the 6 big shots of the celestial realm. In terms of cultivation level, these 6 people were indeed stronger than Pan King. But even the strongest, the white-haired elder, was only at the peak stage of the 7th heaven celestial king tier. Fellow immortal, don't be stubborn. The era of darkness is about to arrive, and we need them to hold down the fort. You should look at the big picture, the white-haired elder said again. Chu Bei no longer paid any attention to the 6 big shots of the celestial realm. Instead, he focused his eyes on the pile of flesh that Tai Shi and Yuanchu had turned into. Meeting Chu Bei's gaze, the white-haired elder frowned. As the white-haired elder gave a cold humph, there was a heaven-shaking boom. A terrifying Dharma idol appeared behind him, pressing down on Chu Bei. At the same time, The Dharma idols of the other 5 Celestial King tier big shots also appeared, pressing down on Chu Bei together. At this moment, the 6 Dharma idols intertwined, the celestial phenomenon astonishing. Endless stars rotated, rivers of stars surged and flowed, star regions evolved, petals of the great Tao fell, and a beautiful and pure land appeared. Instantly, this galaxy, space, time, everything became still, leaving only a deathly silence. Chapter 482. That mysterious immortal king is surrounded. Under the gazes of countless cultivators, Chu Bei was surrounded by the 6 intertwined Dharma idols, as if he was in an isolated void. Boom! The 6 immortal kings, led by the white-haired old man, poured their divine consciousness into the intertwined Dharma idols at the same time. With a loud bang, a mysterious giant net was formed, as if to imprison Chu Bei. Chu Bei glanced around indifferently, his expression unchanged. The immortal extermination sword in his hand trembled, and tens of thousands of sword rays fused together, easily blocking the mysterious giant net. Looking at the sword light that carried a terrifying aura, a hint of surprise flashed in the eyes of the white-haired old man and the other immortal kings. However, before they could react, the golden longsword left Chu Bei's hand. The golden longsword seemed to have a mind of its own. It waved on its own, and dense sword rays enveloped the battlefield. These sword rays swept out and instantly cut the huge net in half. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The immortal extermination sword seemed to have been provoked by the 6 Dharma idols. The hilt, blade, and blade projected a strange light at the same time, gathering together to form a long rainbow that swept in 6 directions. Boom, boom, boom. Wherever the rainbow passed, 6 muffled explosions sounded one after another. In a flash, the 6 Dharma idols collapsed. Poochie. In the next moment, the 6 immortal kings, led by the white-haired old man, turned pale. Their bodies trembled violently, and they spat out blood as they staggered. Stumbling back a few steps, the 6 immortal kings stopped. When they looked at Chu Bei again, their eyes were filled with deep fear. Lord Hong Tian and the others are injured. The 6 immortal kings who have existed since time immemorial still suffered a loss at the hands of that mysterious immortal king. Where did this mysterious immortal king come from? Is he in existence before the age of Emperor collapse? Witnessing the scene on the battlefield, all the immortals in the immortal region were stunned. It was precisely because they knew the unparalleled deeds of the white-haired old man and the other immortal kings that they revealed expressions of horror and disbelief when they saw that they were defeated by Chu Bei even after joining forces. Pan Wang was also stunned. His gaze when he looked at Chu Bei again became even more stunned. The 6 great immortal king techniques had all collapsed at the same time. This also meant that in a real battle, this mysterious immortal king of unknown origins also had the strength to truly kill the 6 great immortal kings. Master, he's probably already at the peak of the immortal king realm. Ao Feng and Gan Yi looked at each other. The defeat of the 6 great immortal kings meant that the strength of this mysterious immortal king was undoubtedly the strongest in the immortal region. Rumble. Chu Bei put his hands behind his back and walked past the white-haired old man and the other immortal kings, heading towards Taisher and Yuanchu. Lord Hong Tian, Lord Shumi, the age of darkness is coming. We can still kill the enemy. Save us. As Chu Bei got closer and closer, Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu's flesh and blood cried out in fear. The 6 immortal kings looked at each other, but none of them made a move. Apart from the seriousness and fear on their faces, there was also a sense of helplessness. Go accompany Aoqing. As Chu Bei's indifferent voice fell, the golden disc appeared and spewed out a terrifying suction force, instantly sucking Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu in. A similar scene played out again. Amidst the heart-palpitating chewing sounds were Genesis Supreme and Yuanchu's shrill cries until the sound faded away. Immortal King Taisher and Immortal King Yuanchu are also dead. Our immortal region has lost 3 immortal kings. If the Age of Darkness comes, I'm afraid we won't be able to escape this calamity. Looking at the dazzling golden disc, the immortal region's experts were at a loss. Fellow immortal, you're too agitated. The 6 great immortal kings sighed faintly. If possible, they really wanted to save Genesis Supreme and Yuan Chu. Even though the other party wanted to refine the 9 heavens and 10 lands, they were still supreme immortal kings. When the Age of Darkness descended, they played a crucial role. Unfortunately, there was a mysterious immortal king in the 9 heavens and 10 lands that even they could do nothing about. They were no match for him, so they could only watch as Genesis Supreme and Yuan Chu were killed. I killed 3 of your immortal kings. Now, I'll return the 2 of you. Chu Bei glanced at the 6 immortal kings, then turned around and said, Ao Feng, Gan Yi, come here. Sir, what are your orders? Ao Feng and Gan Yi immediately bowed to Chu Bei. Their attitude was much more respectful than when they were facing Pan Wang. Ever since this mysterious immortal king brought them back to the immortal region, they had already acknowledged him from the bottom of their hearts. In the previous battle, the immortal region was unfair to you. I'll give you a fortuitous opportunity to return the pain of missing your family for 1,000,000 years. As his calm voice fell, Chu Bei flicked his finger. 2 balls of mist flew out from the golden disc and landed on Ao Feng and Gan Yi. This is the immortal king's essence. Sensing the aura contained within the 2 balls of mist, Ao Feng and Gan Yi were first stunned. Then, their bodies suddenly trembled, and they were extremely excited. Refine it, Chu Bei said calmly. Thank you, sir. Looking at the immortal king's essence in front of them, Ao Feng and Gan Yi were so excited that their voices trembled. They had been stuck at the half-immortal king realm for countless years. They were only 1 step away from the immortal king realm. However, this step had been impossible for them for millions of years. In their opinion, this ball of quintessence of an immortal king was a gift to them, and it was already far capable of making up for the pain of missing home they'd experienced in the lower dimensions for 1,000,000 years. With the immortal king's essence in hand, they were confident that they could truly step into the immortal king realm. After calming themselves down, Ao Feng and Gan Yi took a deep breath and started absorbing the immortal king's essence. As time passed, Ao Feng and Gan Yi's aura became more and more terrifying. The avatars behind them started to show a terrifying phenomenon. Countless stars could be seen flowing within, forming a star field. Rumble. 2 explosions sounded at almost the same time. The immortal region shook. After successfully breaking through, Ao Feng and Gan Yi hurriedly retracted their auras. Otherwise, this area would probably turn into ruins under their violent auras. Congratulations, Pan Wang immediately went up and said with a smile. We will never forget your excellency's kindness. This time, Ao Feng and Gan Yi directly knelt in front of Chu Bei. Rise. If one day you dare to do something similar to what Ao Cheng and the others did, I will also kill you. Chu Bei waved his hand and lifted Ao Feng and Gan Yi. His deep voice was filled with supreme authority. What did he do? What's going on with those 2 balls of mist? He actually made Ao Feng and Gan Yi become immortal kings. That's an immortal king's essence. It's formed from the essence of an immortal king's entire body. It condenses all of the immortal king's understanding of the Tao. Ordinary half-immortal kings can immediately become immortal kings. In that case, can immortal kings really be created? No. An immortal king's essence is extremely rare. Only immortal kings will consider whether to form their essence before they die. However, it's almost impossible for immortal kings to meet someone who's about to die. The peak true immortals and half-immortal kings stared blankly at Ao Feng and Gan Yi, who had already become immortal kings. Their faces were filled with envy. The 6 immortal kings, including the white-haired old man, were also shocked. They never would have thought that this mysterious immortal king in front of them would actually have the essence of the immortal kings they killed. How heaven-defying was this? At the immortal king realm, almost all of them acted independently. It was very rare for them to form an alliance like Ao Feng, Taisher, and Yuan Chu. But now, this mysterious person in front of them could create immortal kings. As long as he wanted to, he could completely kill other immortal kings and create an immortal king army that belonged to him. Thinking of this, the 6 immortal kings looked up at the golden disc and couldn't help but gasp. Now, I have returned 2 immortal kings to you. When darkness descends, If you still don't have enough people, I will also take action. Now, do you have anything to worry about? Chu Bei's gaze swept across the 6 immortal kings as he spoke calmly. Hearing this, the 6 immortal kings looked at each other, then cupped their fists at Chu Bei at the same time. Their figures gradually faded and disappeared from everyone's sight. In the so-called age of Emperor Collapse, the 9 heavens and 10 earths and the immortal region were originally one. Now, they should be together again. Not long after the 6 immortal kings left, Chu Bei's calm voice sounded in every corner of the immortal region. In the next moment, the immortal slaying sword in his hand crossed the distant sky. Amidst the buzzing sound, endless sword light shot down, sprinkling the earth and stars of the immortal region. Rumble. Amidst the soul-stirring sound, the barrier between the immortal region and the 9 heavens and 10 earths was completely broken, and the 2 worlds began to merge. What happened? What dense spirit chi? Haha, I broke through the bottleneck. Great, this is really great. Look at the sky. What is that? Our world is merging with them. The immortal region. That's the immortal region. After a long while, the 9 heavens and 10 earths were in an uproar, and some of the veteran supremes even cried out in surprise. Is this the lower realm? The spirit chi is indeed very scarce. I didn't expect that in such an environment, they would actually give birth to supremes. The cultivators of the immortal region watched in shock as the 9 heavens and 10 earths gradually merged, their eyes filled with astonishment. After the 2 worlds completely merged, Ming Tianzheng, Wang Changsheng, Zhao Haoyan, and the other supremes of the 9 heavens and 10 earths began to increase their auras, entering the perfected immortal realm. Chapter 483. Host has successfully merged with Celestial Realm and 9 Heavens 10 Earths. Mission completed. Mission 3. Host pacifies the era of darkness. During the mission, Host can use level 20 goods once. Just as Chu Bei was looking at the merged Celestial Realm and 9 Heavens 10 Earths in satisfaction, the system's voice sounded in his head. Level 20. Coming back to his senses, Chu Bei muttered to himself, the corners of his lips unconsciously rising. Now, the level 19 most powerful killing sword, Celestial Killing Sword, was already equivalent to peak stage 9th Heaven Celestial King tier strength. This level 20, didn't that mean above Celestial King tier? A while later, after Chu Bei calmed his restless heart, his eyes landed on Shi Hao. Disciple, Master will also gift you a piece of natural luck. As his voice fell, Chu Bei waved his sleeve, and brilliant light surrounded them. Ming Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, Ao Feng, Gan Yi, and the others were all within. Hung Long. A shocking sound rang out. Chu Bei and the others disappeared from this starry sky. As they advanced, they continuously passed through many seas of stars, passing through expanse after expanse of starry sky, the journey endless. After passing through the starry sky one after another, Chu Bei and the others finally arrived at a desolate starry sky, descending on an ancient and withered star. This star was extremely strange. It was wrapped in thick celestial energy, but no life aura could be sensed from it, a deathly stillness. Could this be heaven-reaching land? Ao Feng and Gan Yi seemed to have recognized this place and couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Heaven-reaching land? Meng Tianjing looked confused. In the records, Celestial Realm has a mysterious place called Heaven-reaching land. Among celestial kings, there is a legend that this place can connect past and present, experiencing endless time. There are also some who say that one can see the future. Hong Tian, Pan Wang, Tai Shi, Yuan Chu, and other celestial kings have all come here before. However, none of them could enter. It is rumored that the flow of time here, compared to the outside world, is even more eternal. From what I know, there was a true immortal in the age of Emperor Collapse who entered this heaven-reaching land by chance. He dreamt of 3 lifetimes, and when he came out, his cultivation level soared to the immortal king realm. Ao Feng told him everything he knew. There is actually such a mysterious place. When they heard this, Ming Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the others were incredibly shocked. However, if you want to enter this place, everything depends on your luck. Otherwise, Hong Tian, Pan Wang, and the others wouldn't have been unable to enter, Gani added. At that moment, Chu Bei's left and right hands were already on the surface of the planet. Then, he let out a deep growl. Accompanied by a buzzing sound, a crack was forcibly torn open in the dead star. Looking at this scene, Ao Feng and Gani looked at each other, speechless for a moment. Just a second ago, they were still saying that no matter how strong one would not be able to break through if one did not have the opportunity. But in the next second, they were mercilessly slapped in the face. This is the land of heaven reaching, also known as the land of fortune. Chu Bei looked towards Shi Hao. Follow your master inside. What kind of natural luck you obtain will depend on yourself. After saying this, Chu Bei took the lead to enter the crack filled with primal chaos immortal energy. Shi Hao, Meng Tianzheng, and the others followed closely behind. After entering the crack, there was a great path formed from interweaving immortal light. At the end of the path was a stone room. Hong Long Long. Before they even approached the stone room, the space here began to tremble intensely, continuously swaying. Master, it seems to be summoning me. Shi Hao revealed a look of shock. He pointed at the stone room in front of him, his body gradually becoming faint. At this time, Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the others heard mysterious scripture sounds resonating with the stone room, as if they were heavenly sounds. Go and search for your opportunity. Chu Bei nodded slightly. Hong. Immediately afterwards, Shi Hao's figure disappeared from this place. That is, almost at the same time, Ao Feng, Gan Yi, and the others widened their eyes, their faces full of disbelief as they stared at the stone room. They only saw that Shi Hao was already standing in the stone room. An indistinct figure that was similar to him could vaguely be seen standing in front of him. That indistinct figure seemed to be telling Shi Hao about his past and present lives, but also seemed to be imparting an unmatched Tao method to him. Senior, Shi Hao, he. Meng Tianjing looked towards Chu Bei. This is his natural luck. How much he can obtain will depend on himself. Chu Bei said indifferently. Gradually, irregular scenes appeared in the stone room. Primal chaos light shone, immortal mist becoming thick, starting to become hazy. Right now, Shi Hao in the stone room seemed to have become a wooden person, his body not moving at all. However, his eyes flowed with resplendent radiance. Upon closer inspection, there was actually the birth and destruction of the universe within his eyes, the great river of time surging, extremely horrifying. It was as if he was currently experiencing something, sometimes frowning, sometimes relaxing, sometimes in shock, sometimes in fear. Embodiment transformation, embodiment transformation, embodiment transformation. All of this is in preparation for me, or perhaps it is all for naught. The day will come when I will return. Soon afterwards, Shi Hao's lips moved, unexpectedly releasing a voice that made one's blood run cold. His voice was faintly discernible, extremely distant, as if it crossed through endless time. Is he reincarnating? Is he really a creature from that era? Or perhaps he just crossed the great river of time from here to that era. While looking at the battlefield that appeared above the stone room, Ao Feng and Ganyi's expressions suddenly changed. What was described was actually the age of Emperor collapse. Meanwhile, in that intense battlefield, there was actually an unmatched existence that was exactly the same as Shi Hao. Inside the stone room, the wood-like Shi Hao also underwent changes at this moment. His appearance was no longer that of a young man. His blood energy withered, as if he entered his later years, as if he was a setting sun in the horizon, gradually aging. In the eyes of the outside world, Shi Hao didn't move at all, but only he knew that he was living in an unfamiliar world, already reaching the end of his life. Soon afterwards, he was reborn, returning to his youthful state. Blood energy surged, vital energy flourishing to the extreme. This was the second life. He cut off the decay, a Tao seed blossoming within his body, essence flowing. I am going to achieve immortality. When the second life was about to reach its end, Shi Hao seemed to have temporarily woken up. Following a great shout, Shi Hao began his third life. In this life, he was completely exhausted. He spent his entire life trying to break through, his body riddled with scars. In the fifth life, he picked countless immortal medicines, devouring them and refining them. In the sixth life, during the endless years of life, he didn't cultivate bitterly, instead choosing to comprehend all types of heaven and earth formations. In the seventh life, he began to immerse himself in the development of the trembling fruit, searching for its profound mysteries. Moreover, he used formations to gather innate essence, nurture a chance of rebirth. In this life, Shirhao lived for 3 million years. Then, the eighth life, ninth life, Shirhao's methods became more and more heaven-defying. With each life, his lifespan would increase greatly. This was a process, one that repeated over and over again. Hong. After who knew how much time had passed, a sky-shocking rumbling sounded from the stone room, an explosion erupting. A young man walked out, and there were several figures following behind him. The first person stood on a great cauldron, 9 heavens lightning all around him. The second person stood on a great bell. With a raise of his hand, stellar domains swirled about. The third person was a woman, in her hands fiddling with a ghost mask. It's another senior. When they saw Shirhao walk over, Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, Ao Feng, Gan Yi and the others were all shocked. They weren't shocked because Shirhao's aura became more powerful, but rather because the last figure that followed Shirhao out of the stone room was actually identical to Chu Bei, just that the aura fluctuations were much weaker. A bit interesting. Chu Bei looked at the figures behind Shirhao with an amused expression. Master, please accept a bow from your disciple. Shirhao's aura changed, his entire being becoming even more steady. He knelt down before Chu Bei. This is precisely embodiment transformation, right? Even your master was created. Chu Bei said with a smile. Embodiment transformation? When they heard Chu Bei's words, Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the others looked at the figures behind Shirhao again, revealing contemplative expressions. I must ask Master to not take offense. Shirhao cupped his fists. The figures behind him actually flew into his body. How many eras have you experienced? Chu Bei said with a smile. Replying to Master, 18 eras, Shirhao replied. Immortal King, still lacking the final step. Towards Shirhao's current cultivation, Chu Bei calmly gave this evaluation. Half Immortal King. This heaven-reaching earth is formidable after all. Only, it is a pity that this natural luck only belongs to the fated. When they sensed Shirhao's aura fluctuations, Ao Feng and Gan Yi, these 2 immortal kings immediately revealed looks of shock. Right now, the aura Shirhao inadvertently released was already not weaker than their auras before they broke through into immortal kings. Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and Zhao Haoyan looked at each other in dismay, smiling bitterly, feeling rather helpless. This was a little fella who was born less than 1,000 years ago, yet his cultivation already far exceeded theirs. Master, this disciple still has many comprehensions that have yet to be verified, wishing to use this opportunity to attack the Immortal King realm. If this disciple encounters a great disaster that cannot be resisted, I must ask Master to take action and save me. Shirhao thought to himself for a moment, and then said respectfully to Chu Bei, just do as you wish, Master is here for everything. Chu Bei gave Shirhao a look, a smile on the corners of his lips. Meanwhile, outside world, Yulan City. This was a half-immortal king city, located in Immortal Domain's northernmost region. Of course, the city here wasn't a city in the traditional sense, but rather a star domain. Hong. Suddenly, a great noise sounded. This star domain shook greatly. Then, an enormous pitch-black opening appeared in a realm wall. Then, a large hand vaguely reached over from outside the opening, pitch-black like ink, a single finger much larger than a star. Before this large hand completely reached into Immortal Domain, endless roiling black mist seeped in. Not good. The realm wall is broken. Darkness matter is attacking. The great era of darkness has arrived. Hurry and report to the Great One. Inside the city, the expressions of the experts who first discovered the roiling black mist changed greatly. While sucking in cold air, they screamed out in horror. It was different from the invasion of darkness in the 9 heavens 10 earths. Right now, the cultivators in this star domain were mostly supreme beings and even true immortal experts. Even if they were infected by the black mist, they still weren't affected too much. Only, within this roiling black mist, pairs of green eyes began to appear one after another. These were powerful darkness creatures. Zhi. Amidst the soul-stirring screeches, these creatures of darkness lunged at the experts of this star field. Chapter 484. Lord Yulan is here. A cultivator exclaimed. A graceful woman in purple appeared. She was a female subimmortal king. After frowning, she clenched her fist and punched at the huge gap. Outside the gap, a disdainful snort sounded. Then, the pitch-black hand met her attack. With a loud bang, the purple-clothed woman's arm exploded, and she was sent flying while coughing blood. The pitch-black hand continued its pursuit. Just as it was about to land on the purple-clothed woman's body, an arrow flew over. With a pop, it shot into the hand. The blood that splashed out was all black. It was extremely terrifying, and the blood was like a tidal wave. Compared to the black hand, the blood was just a wisp of blood. However, in this star field, it was a black torrent. Ah! Miserable and painful screams came from outside the gap. The dark creatures in the black fog were all destroyed at this moment. Accompanied by a low roar of unwillingness, the pitch-black hand retreated. Lord Hongtian is here. Oh my God! Lord Yulan was actually injured just now. Could it be that the dark creature in that hand is an immortal king? That's for sure. If Lord Hongtian hadn't arrived in time, Lord Yulan would have been in danger. The group of experts was astonished. Thank you for saving me, Lord. The purple-clothed woman's injuries healed. She looked at the white-haired old man who appeared in front of her with incomparable respect. The era of darkness has come. Chaos is about to rise. The white-haired old man sighed faintly and began to repair the torn gap in the realm wall. This white-haired old man was one of the 6 immortal kings who wanted to protect Taisher and Yuanchu from Chu Bei, Hongtian. On the other side, Panking City, Qi. Amidst the rumbling, a scarlet spear pierced through the realm wall. It was boundlessly thick and was tens of thousands of miles long. It erupted with boundless killing light and a murderous aura. This was a creature of darkness. Its body was also surrounded by endless rolling black fog. Looking at it carefully, it was as majestic as a demonic mountain, unapproachable. At this moment, he gripped his battle spear tightly. The tip of the spear pointed straight at the enormous Pan-King city. Pan-King flew out, not even saying anything, directly exchanging blows just like that, as if they knew each other from many great eras ago. Rumble. As the peerless battle between immortal kings unfolded, more and more cultivators were alarmed. Why is Panwang City fighting again? Could it be that some idiot has offended that mysterious immortal king from the 9 heavens 10 earths? No, it was a creature of darkness. He's fighting Panwang. Why are you here so early? The expressions of the cultivators watching the battle changed drastically. Their eyes were filled with fear. On the battlefield, the darkness creature's spear continuously hacked out, while a great golden imprint flew out from Pan-King's hand, covering heaven and earth, erupting with a world-shocking aura, slaughtering all living things. Bang! Amidst the sound of collision, the golden seal sent the battle spear flying and landed on the body of the demon godlike creature of darkness. After a long roar of pain, the creature of darkness' entire body cracked apart. He spat out blood, many parts of his body exploding. Pan-King, this time, you all won't be able to stop me. The creature of darkness roared with laughter. He no longer tangled with them, withdrawing. While looking at the creature of darkness who disappeared, Pan-King's brows furrowed tightly, his expression incredibly grave. To the north of Immortal Domain, within a mysterious deathly still star, a shout shook up the starry domain. Above Shurhao's head, a 9-colored river surged downwards. Upon closer inspection, these rivers looked as if they were formed from the mixture of countless star domains. This was Immortal King Tribulation. a type of immortal king tribulation that had never been recorded before. Hong Shihao rushed into the heavens. The moment he made contact with the nine-colored river, he suddenly fell down, his body cracking apart, blood gushing out from his mouth. The nine-colored river seemed to have been angered, actually turning into a nine-colored blade, its aura becoming more and more terrifying. However, when the nine-colored blade was about to hack apart Shihao's soul, a massive fist imprint appeared out of nowhere, directly blasting it to pieces. This was Chu Bei's attack. Master, this disciple failed again. Shihao looked towards Chu Bei, his face full of helplessness. This was already the 17th time he experienced Immortal King Tribulation, yet he didn't receive it a single time. If not for Chu Bei taking action, he would have already gone through it 17 times. The Immortal King Tribulation you experienced is a bit special. It cannot be rushed. The moment Chu Bei finished speaking, a wave of berserk aura fluctuations seeped in, carrying strong killing intent. Senior, this aura, Ao Feng frowned. Even though this aura was unfamiliar to him, it still made his heart tremble. It was clear that the one who released this aura was definitely an Immortal King-level existence. Chu Bei didn't reply, only waving his hand, bringing this group of people with him, disappearing from this mysterious place. That's the foreign Great Army. They actually fought their way into Immortal Domain. Their actions, are they going to completely declare war without any regard for the consequences? While looking forward, Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, Ao Feng and the others' pupils suddenly contracted. The creatures of darkness descended, the foreign Great Army also erupting at this time. How could there be such a coincidence? Could it be that the rumors are true? The foreign Shichuo Immortal King evolved from the creatures of darkness. They have an inseparable relationship with the creatures of darkness. Damn it, we definitely cannot let them break through this place. We must protect Immortal Domain with our lives. In this sea of stars, more and more supreme beings and true immortals gathered, all of them seriously waiting for the great army that emerged from the gap. Kill. Defend until Immortal King Great One arrives. A half-immortal king led the group. When his shout sounded, he took the lead in slaughtering his way into the foreign Great Army. Hong Long Long. In the blink of an eye, a terrifying great chaotic battle erupted in this sea of stars. Pung. Right when the intense battle reached its climax, a great roar sounded from the torn realm wall. Then, a terrifying ancient beast appeared, but it quickly turned into a large man. His head of scarlet red long hair scattered down, eyes terrifyingly sharp. This was an undying king of the foreign side, primal chaos swirling about, great Tao aura oppressing the heavens. He stood here, as if he could suppress the heavens for all eternity. Scarlet. Scarlet King. Not good. It's Scarlet King. Hurry and retreat. Immortal Domain's half-immortal king immediately recognized that large man. His expression suddenly changed, carrying fear. Where is Hong Tian? The crimson-haired large man gave Immortal Domain's half-immortal king an indifferent look. When his cold voice sounded, he directly slapped down with a large hand. Hong Long Long. The crimson-haired large man possessed terrifying exuberant blood energy. With just a single palm, this entire starry sky seemed to have become still. I can't move. In that instant, the expressions of Immortal Domain's cultivators trembled, revealing expressions of alarm. However, when they saw that terrifying giant hand carrying unmatched might about to slap them into nothingness, a golden long sword appeared out of thin air, blasting that giant hand apart. It's you. This king was just thinking about looking for you. After dealing with Immortal Domain, the crimson-haired large man was first stunned, and then when he saw who it was, killing intent surged in his eyes. 1,000 years ago, the other party killed Anlin and Shichuo. 2 days ago, the other party killed Wushang. The person before him had long entered the foreign side's list of people they had to kill. When the Immortal Domain cultivators saw Chu Bei, they were first stunned, and then after a momentary absent-mindedness, they revealed expressions of joy. It's that mysterious Immortal King of unknown origins. Mysterious Immortal King? Explain yourself. It's that existence who killed Ouching, Yuan Shu, and Taisher Great Ones. Moreover, forced back Hong Tian's 6 Great Ones. What? So it was him. It was him who broke through the barrier between immortal domain and the 9 heavens 10 earths. There were some cultivators who didn't recognize Chu Bei. When they heard others speak about Chu Bei, their faces immediately revealed expressions of shock. If it really is that mysterious immortal king, then the danger before us should be resolved. Immortal domains, true immortals, and the half-immortal king in the lead exchanged a look, their brows relaxing. Back then, this one also said that if I saw you again, I would definitely cut you down. Chu Bei looked at Scarlet King. When his calm voice sounded, he directly brandished his sword. Arrogant! Scarlet King roared out angrily, the formless aura becoming even more terrifying. He clenched his fist, facing Chu Bei. At this time, regardless of whether it was the foreign great army or immortal domain cultivators, they immediately moved far away out of fear of being affected by the battle shockwaves. However, in reality, ever since Chu Bei brandished his sword, he already opened up a new space to serve as a battlefield. After all, the effects of a battle of their level really were too great. Hong Long Long. Amidst rumbling sounds, Scarlet King appeared in the starry sky. Chu Bei opened up. His head of long red hair was like fiery light, dancing about there, releasing dazzling symbols, his aura oppressive. In that instant, his magical body erupted, stars even revolving around his body. Because he knew Chu Bei's strength, he directly displayed his most powerful state right from the start. A new epoch has already arrived. No matter how you all resist, it will only be futile. Scarlet King seemed to know something, his sharp eyes looking indifferently at Chu Bei like lightning. As his words fell, he moved again. A blood-red furnace flew out from his palm, flowing with dazzling light, spewing out endless great Tao flames, burning the starry sky. In fact, one could even vaguely see layers of strange phenomena in these flames. That was the realm sea. Inside, there were currently countless terrifying creatures wrapped in darkness, crossing the sea together in one direction. What was even more terrifying was that in the instant Scarlet King moved, the long river of time actually appeared around his body, fragments of time curling about. Scarlet King, an immortal king powerhouse with an innate talent of time. You can let this lord fight to his heart's content. A hint of a smile curled up the corners of Chu Bei's lips, fighting spirit rising in his eyes for the first time. Judging from his aura, this Scarlet King's strength had already reached the 8th heaven celestial king tier, and was only a step away from the 9th heaven. For this, Chu Bei did not underestimate his opponent, holding the celestial slaying sword, facing him seriously. At their cultivation level, there was no gaudy battle of 3,000 moves, but directly used the strongest ultimate techniques, deciding life and death in an instant. Chu Bei brandished his sword, striking Scarlet King cleanly. Dang! Scarlet King held the crimson furnace, strolling on the long river of time. Fragments of time danced, endlessly terrifying, striking out endless flames of great Tao symbols. In the instant they clashed, this starry sky caved in, brilliant celestial Tao light wrapping around them. Scarlet King has broken through. Most likely, even if Hong Tian comes, he is no longer his match. Looking at the supreme battle in that open starry sky, Ao Feng and Gani both sucked in a cold breath. Thankfully, there was this mysterious lord here, or else the celestial realm would definitely welcome a terrifying disaster. It has been like this since time immemorial. On the battlefield, Scarlet King shouted loudly, using secret techniques of time. He slit his wrist, and dazzling blood splattered, entering the crimson furnace. Instantly, a power of time, carrying time symbols, and Scarlet King's origin blood essence, suppressed towards Chu Bei. Almost at the same time, the celestial slaying sword in Chu Bei's hand lit up at the same time as his body, sweeping out endless golden sword light, piercing through the power of time, heading straight for Scarlet King. With a boom, the celestial slaying sword light collided with the power of time, great Tao symbols flying. After a short stalemate, the celestial slaying sword light annihilated Scarlet King's power of time, and arrived in front of Scarlet King, about to kill him. Ah! Feeling the celestial slaying sword light, Scarlet King roared, all his origin blood essence seeping out of his body, burning fiercely. The other was stronger than he had imagined. He had to fight with his life on the line. With the burning of his origin blood essence, Scarlet King's aura rose another level, temporarily entering the ninth heaven. Boom! The starry sky shook, and time was destroyed. Time was like an ocean, drowning Chu Bei. Chapter 485. Previously, this king was worried about rewriting the great river of time to avoid harming myself. Now, this king no longer fears death, igniting my essence blood to completely activate the power of time. Who can stop me? On the battlefield, Scarlet King seemed to have gone mad, his face sinister as he roared at Chu Bei. Then, only to see Chu Bei submerge in the sea of time. One could vaguely see his hair turn white, body starting to age. Not good. Scarlet King is going all out. Great One. His situation is not looking good. When they saw the situation on the battlefield, Ao Feng and Gan Yi, the two immortal kings' expressions changed greatly. Shi Hao, Ming Tianzheng, and the others' eyes were even more so filled with worry. Go to hell. Scarlet King went mad, all of his essence blood burning fiercely, wrapped within blood-red flames. As his cold voice sounded, the scarlet furnace appeared in his hands again, becoming more and more terrifying. It released chaotic energy, swirling with the ripples of time. However, when the Scarlet King furnace was about to smash into Chu Bei's head, the latter's white hair immediately became black again, his skin also instantly returning to its original state, as if the power of time disappeared from Chu Bei's body. Meanwhile, at this time, Chu Bei laughed. His entire body was wrapped within golden sword radiance, and then his body merged into the immortal killing sword. Golden radiance surged, mysterious and unfathomable, containing endless great Tao profound mysteries. Honglong. A sky-shocking noise sounded, irregular scenes appearing one after another. Chu Bei and the immortal killing sword became one, first destroying the Scarlet King furnace, and then smashing fiercely into Scarlet King's chest. In that instant, Scarlet King's chest was penetrated, staggering backwards. The raging flames around his body were extinguished. No, impossible. Scarlet King roared. His roar was filled with unwillingness. He couldn't accept that his most powerful attack after igniting his essence blood actually couldn't injure the other party. The wantonly consumption of his essence blood made him reveal his original body. His entire body was scarlet red, the head of a flood dragon, the body of a lion, covered in blood-colored scales, sinister and vicious. Stop pointlessly struggling, just end things here. Just as Scarlet King was about to risk his life again, Chu Bei's voice came from Zhuxian's sword. In the next moment, the god-slaying sword was fixed above Red King's head. Endless golden sword light was like a torrential river, instantly annihilating the time fragments outside Red King's body and then bombarding his body. Ah! Scarlet King screamed in pain as he was wrapped up by the golden sword light. It was as if he had turned into a cocoon as he constantly twitched. At the same time, Chu Bei walked out of the celestial slaying sword with a round plate in his palm. The center of the disc released a golden light, sucking Scarlet King in. Crack, crack. This time, in addition to the crunching sound of chewing, there was also a strange baby's laughter. Death is nothing to be afraid of. My emperor is coming, and all of you will die. Even you are no more than an ant in front of his majesty. This king will be waiting for you on the path of reincarnation. Red King's hysterical roar came from the center of the disc. You won't be able to enter reincarnation. Following Chu Bei's mocking words, the golden disc suddenly trembled. Then, Scarlet King's voice disappeared. Scarlet King Great One was killed. Not even Scarlet King was his opponent. How could it be like this? Retreat. Hurry and retreat. While looking at the dazzling golden disc, the foreign great army snapped out of their daze. When they looked at Chu Bei again, the expressions on their faces became more and more fearful. However, before they could return to the tear in the realm wall, a strand of sword radiance swept out. With a hong noise, the foreign great army turned into nothingness. Not a trace of them could be seen. Dead, the foreign great army was completely wiped out. Are these the methods of that mysterious Great One? It really is too terrifying. No wonder the 6 Great Ones weren't his opponent even after joining hands. However, speaking of which, who was the Emperor Scarlet King was referring to? Could it be one of those legendary, illusory, immortal emperors? Could it be that there is someone from the other side whose status is above Scarlet King's? This emperor might not necessarily be a foreign expert, but rather a creature of darkness. While Immortal Domain's cultivators were discussing intensely, Chu Bei walked out from the immortal domain that was established. Many thanks to Great One for taking action. With that half-immortal king in the lead, the cultivators of this star domain all bowed towards Chu Bei, their faces full of gratitude. That day, many star domain realm walls were broken through in immortal domain, creatures of darkness entering. Fortunately, these creatures of darkness seemed to only be probing attacks. When they encountered powerful opponents, they would immediately withdraw. As for the matter of Chu Bei killing the foreign Scarlet King, it also quickly spread throughout the boundless immortal domain. What exactly is going on? From what I know, there are already 7 cities that have been attacked. Fortunately, those immortal king Great Ones took action in time, or else the consequences would be too horrible to imagine. It is rumored that the invading creatures of darkness this time are much stronger than the one from 1,000,000 years ago. The creatures at the head of each wave are all at the immortal king level. Then have you all heard about the foreign great army invading? It is even Scarlet King who is leading them. What? Scarlet King? That foreign giant who isn't weaker than Great One Hong Tian. However, don't worry. Scarlet King and the foreign great army have already been completely killed by the mysterious immortal kings from the 9 heavens 10 earths. Turns out there was still this kind of thing. But why would the creatures of darkness and the foreign great army invade immortal domain on the same day? Don't tell me it really is like the rumors that the foreign people are the descendants of the creatures of darkness? As time went on, immortal domain gradually calmed down. Every corner began to intensely discuss the scene that happened a day ago. The next day, with Hong Tian and the other 5 great immortal king giants in the lead, the immortal kings each guarded a star domain, waiting in full formation. With the lesson of the previous day, all of immortal domain's cultivators entered a state of battle preparation. Those supreme beings, true immortals, half-immortal kings, and even immortal kings who were originally in seclusion all woke up one after another, joining the battle preparation army. The third day, Hong Long Long, immortal domain shook intensely. Regardless of which direction it was, they were all shaking, as if they were suffering continuous attacks. Immortal domain cultivators, all of you, prepare for battle. At this moment, Hong Tian's powerful voice sounded in every corner of immortal domain. The feeling of trembling is several times more terrifying than the one 1,000,000 years ago. An immortal king sighed in admiration. Soon after, all of the powerful cultivators frantically poured their immortal force into the realm walls, trying to stabilize immortal domain. Kacha, Kacha. However, even though they did everything they could, the realm walls still released crisp cracking sounds. One could see long and thin cracks begin to extend like spider webs. Not good. Darkness matter is seeping in. Following the first cry of fear, more and more powerful cultivators began to shout out in unison. At this moment, immortal domain's realm walls began to be invaded by darkness matter. Hong. A long time later, another explosion sounded. Immortal domain's realm walls completely collapsed and collapsed. Immediately afterwards, the originally boundless star domain was completely enveloped in darkness. Those powerful cultivators who released resplendent, immortal radiance could clearly be seen in the darkness. Hong Long Long. Immortal domain's barrier collapsed. Every corner was quickly filled with roiling black mist, accompanied by intimidating buzzing noises. Immediately afterwards, pairs of green eyes appeared in the black mist one after another. Endless darkness creatures emerged from the black mist, rushing towards immortal domain's cultivators. These darkness creatures in the black mist, their cultivations were mostly at the self-severing realm and self-release realm. Even though they couldn't pose any threat to immortal domain's supreme beings and true immortals, for some cultivators below the supreme being level, they brought immeasurable disaster. In that instant, the originally peaceful and auspicious immortal domain turned into a hellish battlefield, intense fighting noises everywhere. There was no lack of screams of alarm among them. Kill! Shouts of war shook the heavens. Those were immortal domain's cultivators fighting against the darkness creatures, fighting until they went crazy. Hong Tian, Pan King, and the other immortal domain immortal kings didn't join the battle, instead looking towards the even higher sky dome. There was a wave of aura that gave them an ominous feeling that was growing stronger. Pong! Following an explosive noise, the sky dome distorted. Several star regions were pulled together by a wave of strange power, and then it was as if a giant black hole was formed. Ripples surged. An ancient palace that released an incomparably terrifying aura appeared. It was especially massive, especially grand. A new great era has descended. After today, immortal domain will no longer exist. An ice-cold and sinister voice sounded from the ancient palace. Then, a terrifying creature whose arms were covered in scales walked out from the ancient palace, a pair of cold eyes immediately finding Hong Tian's position, releasing resplendent divine radiance. Soon afterwards, several figures descended from the ancient palace, all of them carrying terrifying auras, covering the heavens. There were some creatures whose bodies were like wild oxen, with lion heads, their entire bodies covered in green scales. There were some creatures whose entire bodies were shining, as if they were cast from silver, their eyes swirling with intimidating black radiance. There were some creatures whose entire bodies were wrapped in black flames, great Tao symbols flickering in their surroundings. Without a doubt, these terrifying existences were all immortal king-level darkness overlords. Right now, their eyes were separately locking onto immortal domain's immortal kings, their faces expressionless, eyes deep and cold. Pan King, fight again. With a swoosh, a crimson spear shot towards the star region where Pan King was. It was boundlessly thick, and it was tens of thousands of miles long. It erupted with boundless killing light, and a murderous aura overflowed into the sky. This was an immortal king-level darkness creature. Its body was surrounded by endless rolling black fog. Looking closely, it was as majestic as a demonic mountain, unapproachable. Compared to 3 days ago, its aura was even more terrifying. Pan King frowned. He directly opened up a battlefield and fought with the Darkness Immortal King. Rumble. At the same time, the other Darkness Immortal Kings each found an Immortal Domain Immortal King and began a peerless battle. At the Immortal King level, both sides had their own concerns, so they did not use the Immortal Domain as a battlefield. Instead, they each opened up a new world as a battlefield. At the same time, in a dead region, without any vitality. My lord, the darkness creatures are attacking. Ao Feng and Gani looked at Chu Bei with incomparable respect, their faces solemn. You all should go and help out first. Chu Bei gave Shi Hao, who was currently facing tribulation, a look, and then waved his hand towards Ao Feng and Gan Yi. Right now, Shi Hao already experienced 999 failures. Meanwhile, this was also the one with the most hope. Right now, it was precisely Shi Hao's most crucial moment. To put it bluntly, the life and death of others in immortal domain had nothing to do with him. He only cared about Shi Hao, so he naturally wouldn't leave at this time. Chi chi chi. Great Tao flowers fluttered down from the heavens of this star domain, rustling about. This was a mortal king tribulation, a type of great tribulation that combined all of the recorded immortal king tribulations, as well as many mysterious and strange immortal king tribulations. Every single great Tao flower contained a type of incomparably terrifying tribulation. Shi Hao was currently bathing in this sea of great Tao flowers. From time to time, flower petals would flutter down in front of him. Every single petal would produce an extremely terrifying immortal king tribulation. Among them, there was 9 heavens lightning, star domain force, immortal king silhouettes gathering, Emperor weapons carrying Emperor aura attacking. Sure Hao roared towards the heavens. His hair flew upwards, as if he went crazy. There were many times where he almost died in the Great Tribulation. Behind him, there were three figures, resisting the only immortal king tribulation of all time with him. One figure stood on a great cauldron, 9 heavens lightning curling about all around him, blasting the great Tao flowers. Another figure stood on a great bell, the power of all heaven's star domain mixed together. Another figure was dressed in black clothes, long hair fluttering about like a black hole, terrifying devouring force released with every raise of his hand. His embodiment transformation technique produced the 3 existences he saw in reincarnation. As time went on, the number of great Tao flowers became fewer and fewer. On the other hand, Sure Hao began to calm down from his berserk state. He sat down in the air, closing his eyes, as if he was comprehending something. In the end, great Tao flowers swirled around his body one after another, but they didn't produce any great tribulation. During this process, Sure Hao's aura began to rise. When it reached a critical point, a great rumbling noise sounded. His embodiment transformation's 3 figures returned to his body. At the same time, the great Tao flowers around him also merged into his body. In that instant, this star domain entered a state of deathly stillness. A long time later, Sure Hao slowly opened his eyes. Many thanks for Master's protection. Sure Hao gave Chu Bei a deep bow. After entering the Immortal King realm, he could finally vaguely judge Chu Bei's current strength. 3rd level of Immortal King realm. Not bad. Chu Bei nodded in satisfaction, his eyes carrying praise as he looked at Sure Hao. The other party's Immortal King tribulation really was terrifying after all. After breaking through, he actually directly reached the 3rd level of Immortal King realm. This type of strength was already not weaker than the Taichu and Yuanshi trio he killed before. Master, this shouldn't be your respected self's true strength, right? In reincarnation, this disciple previously encountered senior brother. He seemed to have already touched upon the Emperor realm. Meanwhile, according to what he said, your respected self's strength is still far above his. Sure Hao's eyes focused as he looked at Chu Bei, asking probingly, your path of cultivation is still extremely long. Chu Bei lightly patted Sure Hao's shoulder, saying with a smile, let's go. Let's see what the outside world is like. Immediately afterwards, Chu Bei and his master disappeared from this deathly, still star domain without any life force. Hong Long Glong. 6 hours had already passed since Immortal Domain's realm walls collapsed. Right now, Immortal Domain was already in a state of devastation, beaten beyond recognition. Of course, the ones who created this scene weren't those immortal kings, but rather true immortals and half-immortal kings. As for Immortal King level unmatched existences, they formed a battlefield of their own. Chapter 486. After clashing for a long time, regardless of whether it was the darkness creatures' overlords or Immortal Domain's giants, they all suffered injuries that were either serious or light. When Chu Bei's group returned to Immortal Domain, Sure Hao directly appeared in the endless battlefield where Pan King was. It was because the latter was currently being attacked by 2 darkness creatures, his situation extremely bad. Pan King, let's see how long you can hold on for. Only to see that in the endless starry domain, a scarlet war spear was pulled out from Pan King's chest with a chi sound. Golden blood scattered everywhere, crushing the void. Even if the 2 of you come together, so what? This king still doesn't fear you. Pan King roared out, endless resplendent immortal radiance swirling around his body. Then, he casually grabbed a starry domain from a direction, using it to repair the injury on his chest. Right now, even though Pan King's blood and chi were still vigorous, it clearly became chaotic, as if he was forcefully holding on. At first, he could still deal with a single darkness immortal king. However, ever since another darkness immortal king joined in, the battle situation immediately became one-sided. His cultivation was at the 3rd level of the Immortal King realm, but his opponents were 2 darkness immortal kings who were similarly at the 3rd level. In the continuous battle, every move they exchanged was a life and death struggle. Even though he also injured the other two, his injuries weren't as serious as his. Still trying to show off, nothing more than an arrow at the end of its flight, the other darkness immortal king released a cold snort. He held a black spear and slaughtered over again, carrying heaven overflowing baleful energy. Even if this king dies in battle, I will definitely drag you two down with me. Pan King's entire body surged with blood energy, starting to seep out from the surface of his body. Hong Long Long. However, when he saw Pan King make his decision, about to ignite his origin essence blood, a figure appeared on this battlefield. Wherever this figure passed, pitch-black cracks would appear behind him, densely packed like a spider web. Who is it? While looking at the figure wrapped in hazy energy, a darkness immortal king questioned. Meanwhile, at this time, there seemed to be darkness creatures who sensed the terrifying aura contained within that figure. Another darkness overlord appeared on Pan King's battlefield. To put it simply, there were 3 immortal king-level darkness creatures on this battlefield. Pan Wang, leave the 3 of them to me. You just stay at the side and recuperate. An ethereal voice rang out. Pan Wang was stunned. His expression was a little absent-minded. This voice was very unfamiliar to him. He had never heard it before. But through the hazy chi, the other party gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity, as if he had seen him somewhere before. Kill. Without waiting for Pan Wang to speak, the figure charged towards the nearest dark immortal king. All of you must die. With a loud bang, the dark immortal king collided with that figure. Countless divine chains of order intertwined, entangling together. Billions of beams of light bloomed, each of which could cut through the universe and become eternal. A battle between immortal kings was extremely shocking. Perhaps it was because there were 3 dark immortal kings on Pan Wang's side. They gradually became the focal point of the battlefield. More and more people cast their gazes over. Roar. Accompanied by a mournful roar, blood splattered from the collision. In the first exchange of blows, the dark immortal king's palm exploded. His Dharma body was also shaken, and his huge Dharma idol broke through the starry sky. Don't tangle with him. We'll help you. Seeing this, the other 2 dark immortal kings immediately appeared beside the injured creature of darkness, releasing terrifying might together. Clang, clang, clang. The dark immortal king that arrived last released billions of sword lights. It was too dazzling. That was his secret technique. So what if the 3 of you come together? I'm not afraid either. Looking at the 3 dark immortal kings that rushed over at the same time, the voice of the figure wrapped in hazy chi was still calm, extremely calm. Then, a low chant was released from that figure's mouth. In the blink of an eye, it filled every corner of the celestial realm. After thousands of years, he will transform into willow deity. As the first voice fell, a figure appeared above that figure's head. It walked out, standing side by side with him. It was a peerless supreme expert. Its blurry appearance was similar to willow deity, with a towering tree behind it. He will transform into no beginning. As the second voice sounded, another figure appeared beside the first one. Behind him was a large bell. The bell's sound was long and drawn out, and the power of endless star domain pervaded the air. He will transform into a vicious person. As the third voice fell, a third figure appeared beside that figure. It was a woman in black. She had a peerless appearance. Her eyes flickered like endless black holes, and there was a terrifying, devouring power within them. Senior Brother Hua. As the fourth voice fell, the fourth person appeared. He stepped on the myriad chi cauldron, and the 9 heavens lightning surged behind him. His aura was suffocating. As that figure chanted, 4 figures appeared around him, standing side by side with him. Such methods, looking at the scene in front of him, Pan Wang sucked in a breath of cold air. He was truly shocked by the other party's methods. These 4 people were not phantoms, but real people. Moreover, the aura of any one of them was stronger than his, and they had already reached the 4th stage. The 3 dark immortal kings looked at each other and frowned, their faces becoming gloomy. Fight! As the emotionless syllable fell, the figure and the 4 people that it transformed into charged towards the 3 dark immortal kings at the same time. Rumble, rumble. an intense battle unfolded. Amidst the terrifying rumbling, this battlefield became the focus of all the cultivators' attention. Even the other immortal kings and dark overlords who were still fighting temporarily stopped fighting and looked over. The battle became more and more intense. Endless light rain fell, and all kinds of divine chains of order and resplendent immortal light interweaved. After an unknown period of time, a dark immortal king let out a miserable scream. His body was cut open, and blood stained the starry sky. Before everyone could react, another dark immortal king roared in pain. His head was cut off, and his body was torn into pieces. Following that, the third dark immortal king screamed. Under the continuous bombardment, he was turned into a pile of minced meat. The three dark immortal kings let out unwilling roars one after another, filled with dense hatred and killing intent that soared into the sky. However, before their broken limbs could reassemble, a divine inscription with a strange aura pressed down on them. The mysterious power contained within it directly seeped into their souls and bodies. In the next moment, the three dark immortal kings discovered that their reassembly had been inexplicably cut off. What was even more terrifying was that a mysterious power that they had never encountered before was tearing at their souls. Suppress. An ice-cold voice that didn't carry the slightest trace of emotion sounded. The hazy energy around that figure's body scattered, revealing his appearance. He raised the heads of the three dark immortal kings one after another, and then sealed their souls. Almost at the same time, the four figures he produced returned to his body, disappearing without a trace. Sure, Great One Sure How. It's actually him. When they saw that figure's appearance, recognizing his identity, the expressions of the 9 heavens, 10 earths cultivators changed. They all felt as if they were struck by lightning from a clear sky, as if a bucket of cold water was poured over them. They couldn't help but cry out in alarm, their entire bodies becoming numb. Ao Feng, Gan Yi, Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the other experts who had interacted with Shihao before, or even just met him face to face, all sucked in cold breaths of air, their faces at a loss for what to do, as if they were struck by lightning. Shihao's appearance, as well as his display of strength, left them all unprepared. How could it be you? Pan King was stupefied, similarly shocked. It was as if he already lost the ability to think, standing there unmoving like a piece of wood, his eyes staring blankly at Shihao. He never would have thought that the one who saved him would actually be that senior Chu's disciple. Because of Chu Bei, he had previously shot Shihao a look, but because the other party's strength was nothing more than a trifling supreme being realm, he only gave him a look. However, who would have expected that after just a few days, the other party's strength would actually already be above his, powerful to this type of terrifying degree? After calming his pounding heart, Pan King took a deep breath, and then cupped his fists towards Shihao. Many thanks to immortal friend Shi for saving my life. Now, the other party's strength was even above his own, so he naturally had to treat him as someone of the same Tao. When he looked at those creatures of darkness who stopped fighting, they all had expressions of disbelief as they stared at the three heads in Shihao's hands, their entire bodies going taut like stone, their hearts also sunk like they were filled with cold lead. As for those dark immortal kings on the other battlefields, their expressions were similarly ugly to the extreme. Master! Under the eyes of countless creatures of darkness and immortal domains cultivators, Shihao held the heads of the three dark immortal kings in his hands. With a step, he appeared in front of Chu Bei, bowing deeply. Chu Bei looked at Shihao, nodding in satisfaction. Then, with a flick of his finger, a golden disk appeared, devouring the heads of the three dark immortal kings. Immediately, three miserable screams sounded, carrying fear, as if their hearts and lungs were splitting. It made one's heart shiver inexplicably, as if they were suffering some type of intolerable torment. Following a wave of crunching sounds, the miserable cries of the three dark immortal kings completely disappeared. In my opinion, Great One Shihao's cultivation increase is definitely related to that Great One. This is definitely the case. Those are three dark immortal kings, yet they were killed by Great One Shihao just like that. One has to understand that just a few days ago, Great One Shurhao was still a supreme being. Just how did that Great One accomplish this? Gradually, the eyes of immortal domains, true immortals and immortal kings shifted from Shurhao's body to Chu Bei's body, their eyes full of great shock. Hong Tian and the other 6 great immortal king giants gave each other a look, and then they looked at Chu Bei at the same time. All of their faces only carrying expressions of shock. Judging from Shurhao's previous actions, the other party's strength already caught up to theirs. It was to the extent where under the other party's terrifying heaven-defying methods, if they truly fought, they might very well be defeated. My emperor is about to arrive. Destroy immortal domain. Right at this time, the darkness overlord who previously fought an intense battle against Hong Tian released a low roar. Hong Long Long. As that darkness overlord's roar sounded, the darkness creatures who were still immersed in shock snapped out of their daze, once again releasing terrifying auras, throwing themselves at immortal domain's cultivators. Kill. We vow to protect immortal domain with our lives. Immortal domain's cultivators snapped out of their daze, their shouts shaking the heavens, their auras overflowing into the heavens. In just a few breaths of time, the darkness creatures and immortal domain's cultivators carried out another chaotic and intense battle, all types of brilliance interweaving. Those immortal king-level battlefields similarly began to fight again, all types of unmatched natural laws clashing, large amounts of stellar domains evolving and exploding. Shurhao gave Hong Tian's battlefield a look, and then his freedom transformation technique was displayed again. Following a loud noise, 5 more figures appeared in Hong Tian's battlefield, all of them at the 4th level of Immortal King realm. With Shurhao's addition, the balance of the battlefield was instantly broken. Shurhao was extremely powerful. The 4 unmatched experts from embodiment transformation slaughtered their way towards that darkness overlord from different directions. In less than a quarter of an hour, that darkness overlord's body exploded 100 times, to the extent where there were several times where even its soul was almost torn apart. Roar. A world-shaking roar resounded through the starry dome. That darkness overlord turned into its original body, on its back a pair of great pong wings, a dragon head, 4 limbs like a white tiger, as if it was formed from many types of divine bodies. Retreat to the ancient palace first. Prepare to receive the emperor. That darkness overlord's body was torn apart by Shurhao again. He didn't continue fighting, fleeing from the battlefield, flying back to that ancient palace in the distant sky dome. At the same time, after the other darkness overlords gave Shurhao a look, they also didn't continue fighting, returning to the ancient palace. Wong Wong Wong. Shurhao gave the guidance ancient palace in the sky dome a look. A fist smashed apart that battlefield, and then he rose into the air. However, right when he brought the 4 great experts with him, preparing to continue attacking the darkness overlord, the ancient palace suddenly shook, trembling and crying out. Immediately afterwards, the ancient palace surged with raging immortal flames, releasing strange great Tao sounds, a terrifying aura surging. Then, this boundless great region where immortal domain was located underwent a strange transformation. The boundless starry sky seemed to have become transparent. One could vaguely see the distant world outside this great region. Chapter 487. That is, immortal domain's cultivators were all shocked, all of them stupefied. They saw an inconceivable scene. That was an expanse of sea, vast and boundless. Every single wave contained a ruined world, rising and falling. There were time fragments swirling about, immortal corpses and undying remains in the sea, rising and falling. At the same time, there were creatures who were still alive, standing on the waves formed from ruined worlds, currently crossing the sea, heading in immortal domain's direction. When one looked over, there was actually black mist curling about the surface of those creatures' bodies, no different from the creatures of darkness. That is, Realm Sea, Hong Tian, Pan King, and the other giants clearly recognized that boundless sea, crying out in alarm. Meanwhile, the terrifying creatures in Realm Sea surrounded by black mist seemed to have seen guidance ancient palaces burning immortal flame, seeing it as a lighthouse, illuminating their path ahead. My heavens! Are they all creatures of darkness? If this really is the case, can my immortal domain's great army still stop them? The intuition those creatures give me is that even the weakest is a half-immortal king, right? Could it be that immortal domain really is going to fall today? While looking at the creatures who crossed the sea, sensing the auras they released, the expressions of all of immortal domain's cultivators changed greatly, carrying alarm. Honglong. In Realm C, there were creatures who attacked with war spears in hand, stabbing towards this place. An unmatched immortal spear stabbed out from Realm C, instantly piercing through endless starry domains, as if it was going to directly stab into immortal domain. Chi. Another blood-colored spear appeared, the sharp spear tipped scarlet red like blood, directly stabbing into immortal domain's northern starry domain. Large amounts of deathly, still starry domains exploded. It really is creatures of darkness. It's the helpers those fellas brought over. They are trying to destroy immortal domain. When they sensed the explosive sound waves from immortal domain's northern regions, the souls of immortal domain's cultivators began to tremble. This wave of aura really was too terrifying. Yara, you still haven't dealt with the matter I entrusted you with? You actually still need our help. Those creatures of darkness in Realm C seem to have gotten closer, their sinister and overcast voices ringing through immortal domain, carrying unmatched might. Walala. A pool of seawater transformed into a great dhow, connecting to the great region where the celestial realm was located. The creatures that crossed the sea stepped on the waves and headed toward the guidance ancient palace. Wherever they passed, countless stars were directly annihilated into nothingness. Lord Ranger, there's a change here. The overlord of darkness named Yaru, who had been fighting against Hong Tian, immediately bowed respectfully when he saw the leader of the creatures crossing the sea. Are you talking about him? When the ice-cold and indifferent voice sounded, the leading creature that crossed the sea gave Sure How a look of disdain. A streak of pitch-black light shot out from its eyes. Sure How shouted loudly, not the slightest trace of fear on his face. He slaughtered his way over together with embodiment transformation's 4 great experts. Bang! However, in merely an instant, the 4 experts he'd manifested were penetrated by that ray of light, and then they collapsed into a rain of light that dispersed into the surroundings. It wasn't that they weren't strong, on the contrary, any one of them had cultivation comparable to Sure Hao's, 4th-level Immortal King-level cultivation. However, the strength of this terrifying creature that had crossed the sea was simply too terrifying. As for Sure Hao, he used the Void Pill to block it, but despite this being the case, he was still sent flying outwards, his aura chaotic. When they saw this scene, Hong Tian, Pan King, and the others' expressions immediately became ugly to the extreme. Embodiment transformation. I've seen this type of precious technique in the age of Emperor Collapse. I never expected to see it again today. The sea-crossing creature named Ranger shot Sure How a look of shock appearing in his eyes. Fortunately, you haven't completely grown up yet. Otherwise, it really would be a great disaster. As the cold voice fell, a terrifying black fog spread out with Yushan as the center. Wherever the black fog passed, all the stars were annihilated. There were cultivators who were affected. As soon as a miserable scream sounded, their originally exuberant blood energy and souls were completely devoured by the black mist, becoming a pile of broken bones, all the way until they turned into nothingness. How powerful! Not even Lord Sure How has the strength to retaliate. Is Immortal Domain really going to be destroyed? Do you all think Senior Chu can stop these fellas? When they saw the stars explode one after another, Immortal Domain's cultivators all looked like dead ashes. When they looked towards Ranger in front of Guidance Ancient Palace again, their faces all revealed fear. This king stands at the peak of immortal kings, vaguely already touching the aura of an emperor. Unfortunately, it is still a bit lacking. Ranger looked at Sure How, not directly dealing the killing blow, a hint of hope actually appearing in his eyes. If I can learn embodiment transformation, comprehend this type of precious technique, perhaps I can borrow this to enter that cultivation realm. When his voice sounded, The darkness creature named Ranger reached out his right hand, black mist curling about his palm, lightly slapping down. Under a strange wong sound, a giant black mist palm appeared above Shirhao's head, the aura incomparably terrifying, covering the heavens. Attack together. At this time, before Shirhao made any movements, the distant Hong Tian, Pan King, and several dozen other immortal king giants moved at the same time. They carried endless immortal radiance, great Tao flowers swirling around them, their auras rising to the extreme. They faced the giant black mist palm together. A group of ants. A cold snort carrying disdain sounded. With a pung noise, the giant black mist palm crushed down, immortal domain completely cracking apart, becoming scattered. Hong Tian, Pan King, and several dozen other immortal kings' bodies exploded, turning into flesh that covered the skies, slowly reassembling. The giant black mist palm continued to press down, but when it was about to smash into Shirhao's body, a resplendent fist imprint silently appeared. Pong! A sky-shocking noise sounded. The resplendent fist imprint smashed apart the giant black mist palm, moreover continuing to smash towards Guidance Ancient Palace. A Kong-chong noise sounded, mixed with countless mournful howls of anguish, endlessly painful. The resplendent fist imprint smashed fiercely into Guidance Ancient Palace. Those darkness overlords in front of Guidance Ancient Palace were immediately attacked by a wave of irresistible mysterious force, their bodies exploding, the sinister black mist in the surroundings scattering. Who? Ranger frowned, his expression becoming serious. When a low shout sounded, a figure appeared in his line of sight. That figure stood next to Shirhao. Master, this disciple isn't his opponent. Shirhao bowed towards Chu Bei, his expression respectful. He is already at the peak of the 9th degree realm, while you are only at the 4th degree realm. Losing is also normal. Chu Bei lightly patted Shirhao's shoulder, the corners of his lips carrying a smile. After saying this, he looked towards Ranger. Right now, Chu Bei still held the immortal killing sword in his hands. What changed was that his entire body was wrapped within blue-green radiance that surged from all directions. Above his head, a golden disk floated. The center of the disk released a blue-green pillar of light, as if a stellar stream was hanging upside down, directly rushing towards his entire body. What was shocking was that there was actually a great river of time flowing within that blue-green pillar of light. There were many types of space-time within, every single one of them having countless figures prostrating in worship. No matter who you are, you have to die. Ranger's eyes locked onto Chu Bei's body. When he snapped back to reality, he released a great roar. Then, his hands moved, producing 9 black rings of light. The rings of light were connected to each other, a terrifying black beam of light piercing through the void, shooting fiercely at Chu Bei. Hong! However, right when this black beam of light that could destroy the all-heaven star domain was about to drown out Chu Bei's eyes narrowed. Blue-green light shot out from his eyes, directly facing the black beam of light. The instant it collided with the black beam of light, the blue-green light seemed to have immediately turned into a terrifying black hole that could devour all things in this world, instantly devouring the black beam of light. In the time it took for sparks to fly, it was completely silent. Gotcha! Only when the blue-green radiance smashed into Guidance Ancient Palace did Immortal Domain's cultivators hear a clear shattering sound. This time, cracks finally appeared on that complete Guidance Ancient Palace, extending like a spiderweb. As for those darkness overlords that were struck by the light, before they could even scream miserably, their souls already disappearing. When they saw this scene, Hong Tian, Pan Wang, and the other Immortal Domain giants were all stunned. When they looked towards Chu Bei again, it was as if they were all getting to know a new person. They were all numb. Those darkness overlords that were erased just now were existences that fought an intense battle against them before, all of them immortal king-level creatures. However, just a second ago, these fellas with similar strength were directly killed by a streak of light. That's Lord Shirhao's master. Senior Chu took action. Not only is he not weaker than that realm sea creature, he instead seized the advantage in these two clashes. That realm sea creature is already at the peak of Immortal King level. In that case, is Senior Chu still an Immortal King? It seems like with Senior Chu here, Immortal Domain might not necessarily die. The eyes of the 9 heavens 10 earths, Immortal Domain, and the other cultivators all looked towards Chu Bei's body. After being stunned for a moment, they became full of excitement. Emperor Aura. This is impossible. How could Immortal Domain have an emperor? Yushan's expression completely changed. His eyes stared rigidly at Chu Bei, his face full of disbelief. Aoo. After muttering to himself, Yushan released a roar. The scales on the surface of his body shone, displaying endless star domains. 9 tails wrapped in roiling black mist appeared behind him, erupting with endless black radiance. The 9 tails moved about, actually separately turning into a group of ancient beasts from the age of Emperor Collapse. They surrounded Chu Bei from different directions, at the same time opening their mouths to release black-purple flames, stellar streams surging within the flames. This was Yushan's ultimate attack, erasing everything, shattering the heavens. However, what left him horrified was that no matter how the black-purple flames burned, they just couldn't burn through the blue-green light barrier around Chu Bei's body. For the sake of pursuing a higher cultivation realm, you all sacrificed yourselves to the darkness. Yet did you know that this path was nothing more than a scheme? Chu Bei wasn't in a rush to take action. He looked at Yushan with incomparable calmness. A deep sigh sounded, ringing through this great region, directly shaking everyone's minds. As his calm voice fell, the blue-green light around Chu Bei's body, as well as the blue-green pillar of light hanging down from the golden disk above his head, retracted into his body. The next moment, Chu Bei took a step forward. All the blue-green light around him disappeared, but what changed along with it was his aura. If Chu Bei was said to be powerful before, then the current Chu Bei gave off a very ordinary feeling. There wasn't a trace of pressure on him, just like an ordinary young man. When the creatures in Realm C were brought here, he used the one and only level 20 commodity right to use. Chapter 488. Rumble. In the star domain, Chu Bei's robes fluttered even though there was no wind. His hair fluttered slightly as he walked in the void with his hands behind his back. There was no energy fluctuation on his body, but if you really treated him as an ordinary person, you would find that there was an inexplicable supreme power on his body. Just a glance at him made you have the urge to kneel down and worship him. As he took a step forward, the immortal domain that had collapsed into thousands of pieces healed, and the realm wall reappeared. Roar. From the realm sea, the supreme creature called Yushan's aura became more and more terrifying. He continued to urge the 9 black-purple flames to burn Chu Bei. However, even without the turquoise light shield, the black-purple flames still couldn't do anything to Chu Bei. It's a pity to kill someone who is cultivated to this level. Chu Bei looked at Yushan calmly. As he sighed, he raised his hand and waved it gently. The black-purple flames that surged over instantly dissipated. In the next moment, an indescribable invisible force seeped into the flames like a spider web, instantly tearing apart the endless star domain contained within the flames. In an instant, the blazing black and purple flames disappeared into the void of the starry sky. Emperor, you are indeed an emperor. Looking at the calmly approaching figure, a look of fear finally appeared on Yushan's face. Although he was at the peak of the Immortal King realm, he had never entered the Emperor realm. There was an insurmountable gap between him and the Emperor realm expert. Chu Bei didn't respond to Yushan. He just pointed his finger. In an instant, Yushan let out a miserable scream. In an instant, the rolling black fog around him was invaded by a supreme power. It directly penetrated his hard scales and seeped into his body, tearing at his divine soul. While howling in pain, Yushan twisted his body. The surface of his body made clanging sounds. Countless star domains that were compressed to the size of a palm exploded, resisting the strange power that Chu Bei had unleashed. At the same time, he used a supreme paragon skill to condense 9 black balls of light. They connected with each other and blasted towards Chu Bei. However, Before these 9 black balls of light could land on Chu Bei's body, they were easily extinguished by the latter without the slightest effort. So what if you're strong? My emperor is coming, and not just one person. There was an emperor before who was just like you, but his ending was to be suppressed by our emperor's joint efforts, buried in Realm C. Yushan roared loudly. Dark symbols burned on the surface of his body. His hands swung about at a high frequency, and an ancient and strange sound came from his mouth. It rumbled with the power of a star domain. In this desperate situation, he used the ancient method of Dao verification, forming 9 magical seals in one go. Every single seal corresponded to a type of divine ability, and all of them contained the terrifying energy of a star. The 9 great divine abilities merged with each other and erupted with dazzling and resplendent light, and it was as if the heavens and the earth were being split apart. It was unparalleled. Death is nothing to be afraid of. My emperor is coming. I will definitely be resurrected. The wandering puppet seemed to have gone mad, roaring as it controlled the 9 types of precious techniques to combine into one. This was his strongest attack, and it had killed countless celestial kings before. Facing the attacking Yushan, Chu Bei smiled calmly. With a raise of his hand, this star dome was frozen, and Yushan, a mortal king who carried a supreme precious technique, was also frozen. Apart from this, a gloomy white radiance appeared in his palm. Within the radiance, one could vaguely see millions and millions of irregular scenes interweaving. Honglong. With a loud explosion, the area where Yushan was turned into a white light, and nothing could be seen. At this moment, regardless of whether it was the celestial domain cultivators or the creatures of darkness, their expressions all froze, stunned. Sir Yushan disappeared. Where is he? Where did he go? Impossible. He is the number 1 person below the emperor level. He won't die. He definitely isn't dead. Is he really an emperor-level expert? How can there be an emperor-level expert in celestial domain? Those powerful creatures who crossed the sea together looked at the expanse of white radiance on the battlefield in horror. In their perception, Yushan's aura actually disappeared. In front of Guidance' ancient palace, the surviving first batch of Darkness Immortal Kings all looked at Chu Bei in horror. Previously, when Shihao appeared, they thought that the other party was Celestial Domain's most powerful individual. When Yushan, this 9th Heaven Celestial King, arrived, they felt that the battle had ended. Unexpectedly, the true most powerful individual in Celestial Domain was actually a monarch-level expert. Senior Chu 1. Our destroyed home was also repaired by him. Did you all hear what those overlords of darkness said? Monarch-level expert. Senior Chu is a monarch-level expert. Could it be that that is a cultivation level above Celestial King tier? Turns out that in the Battle of Pan King City, he hid his strength. With his current strength, dealing with Ouching, Yuanshi, an absolute beginning would probably only take a single thought. The cultivators of Celestial Domain looked at Chu Bei, who stood in the sky with his hands behind his back. When they came back to their senses, they all cried out in surprise, carrying excitement and joy. Hong Tian, Pan King, and the other Celestial King Big Shots exchanged a look, and then smiled bitterly. At first, they thought that the other party was also a Celestial King like them, and that his cultivation level was only a bit higher than theirs. Now, it looked like their way of thinking was a joke. Senior really can never see through him. Indeed, even if you say now that this is not his true strength, I would believe you. Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and Zhao Haoyan exchanged a look. Ever since the age of Emperor collapse, the great era of darkness that made even Celestial Domain feel fear, with this Senior Chu here, did not seem so terrifying anymore. What are you trying to do? Sensing the indifferent gaze that Chu Bei shot over, those creatures of darkness that crossed the sea shivered inexplicably, a chill rising in their hearts, some fear appearing on their faces. Even though the weakest among them was a half-celestial king, and most of them were even celestial kings who had survived since the age of Emperor collapse, when they met that person's gaze, they still couldn't help but feel fear. After all, the other party was a monarch tier that was far above them. Our emperor is about to arrive. You cannot continue to persist in going about things the wrong way. One of the celestial kings took a deep breath, a trembling voice coming from his mouth, clearly weak and powerless. There is no need to wait for them to come. This great one will go find them personally. Chu Bei's gaze swept over the group of creatures of darkness, his voice carrying a smile as his voice sounded, and then he waved his hand. Soon after, a prison that carried a terrifying aura and interweaved with supreme power took form in the sky. Before the group of celestial kings of darkness could react, they were forcefully restrained by a rippling giant hand, and then thrown into the prison. Rumble. Then, under countless pairs of eyes, Chu Bei took a step out, disappearing from celestial domain, and when he appeared again, he had already arrived at the seemingly endless realm sea. Meanwhile, what everyone saw was only the scene of the realm sea that was projected in the sky. The realm sea was vast and boundless. It represented eternal death and silence. It was very special, clearly black waves rising and falling. Yet there were specks of luster within, like the rising clouds of the morning sun, carrying brilliance. Mist surged. This was essence energy, spiritual essence, as well as a bit of bloody smell, left behind by the fall of unmatched experts. Every wave contained a ruined world, rising and falling, time fragments swirling about. In the sea, there were immortal corpses, skeletons of unmatched existences, rising and falling. Is that the origin of the darkness matter? Truly strange. What exactly is at the end of the realm sea? Is there really an opportunity to become an emperor? Celestial domains, true immortals and immortal kings gazed at the boundless sea, muttering to themselves. It was different from ascending to the critical sea from primordial west journey plane. Ascending to the critical sea from perfect worlds plane, Chu Bei first appeared on a dam. As expected, only emperors can leave behind traces. This time, the group of dark immortal kings trapped in the prison were shocked, their souls trembling. On the dam, a row of faint footprints appeared, clear and dazzling. Even though the footprints were faint, they were truly imprinted on the dam, left behind by Chu Bei. He followed the dam, continuing forward. In the age of emperor collapse, a row of faint footprints had also appeared before. Even after countless great eras, they still existed. It was also precisely because of the appearance of these footprints that countless immortal kings began to enter the depths of the realm sea, searching for its traces, wishing to explore the limits of the realm sea. Now, it seems like Senior Great One's strength is already comparable to that existence from the age of Emperor Collapse. Speaking of which, did that existence from the age of Emperor Collapse head into the depths of the realm sea to quell the darkness source? If that really is the case, then he should have failed. Otherwise, why would the darkness storms still erupt from time to time after all these years? Why would there be the current dark great era? In that case, then Senior Chu's trip this time, could it be? Shut up. Don't speak nonsense. Senior Chu will be fine. Celestial Domain's immortal kings seem to have thought of something, all of them looking at Chu Bei's back figure, worry appearing on their faces. That emperor from the age of Emperor Collapse never returned, life and death unknown. Now, Senior Chu, who was also an emperor, also stepped on this path, making them feel uneasy. They learned from Darkness Immortal King that there were their emperors on this path. Moreover, there was more than one. When they thought of this, their moods naturally became heavy. Even though from the current situation, the Darkness Immortal Kings who attacked Celestial Domain were all imprisoned, the emperor behind the scenes was still alive in this world. If this Senior Chu of unknown origins who was incomparably powerful didn't return, their celestial domain would inevitably still walk towards destruction. Senior can definitely do it. We have to believe in him. There were immortal kings who clenched their fists and said this to themselves, extremely serious. Ever since Chu Bei appeared and killed peak stage Immortal King Yution, he obtained the acknowledgement of all of Celestial Domain's cultivators, including the Immortal Kings, becoming Celestial Domain's hope. Walala, the seawater surged. Chu Bei stepped over the dam, floating above the terrifying sea surface, his eyes indifferently sweeping over his surroundings. Immediately, the sea region Chu Bei was in clearly didn't fit in with the other sea regions. It was more like a passage that extended into the distance, as if leading to the end of the realm's sea. Above the sea surface, there were surging black mists curling about. As for the sea regions on both sides of this passage, they were incomparably terrifying battlefields. Only, the creatures fighting in these millions of battlefields were all paramount existences, coming from different space-time. Taking a closer look, each side of the battlefield seemed to be isolated from each other, and they were not affected by each other. Chapter 489. Look, so there are not only creatures of darkness in the realm sea, the aura of celestial kings. They are actually all celestial kings. They seem to be in another space-time and do not belong to our era. Realm sea. Senior Chu, where did he come from? Looking at the battle in the realm sea, the paragons and true immortal elites of the celestial realm were stunned. Pan King, Hong Tian, and the other celestial kings appeared much calmer, as if they had long known about this. Look, another person has stepped onto the path of darkness, another one who is tired of living. It has to be said that this path of darkness is indeed the most difficult to get lost in, but it is also the most dangerous. Sigh, on the path of darkness, there will be another corpse of a celestial king. Chu Bei's sudden appearance immediately attracted the attention of the celestial king elites from the alternate spacetime on both sides of the sea. They all stopped their current battles, and there was a look of amusement on their faces. His aura, I actually cannot see through it. What? Even you cannot see through his cultivation level. In that case, doesn't he already rank as a pseudo-celestial emperor? After a ninth heaven peak stage celestial king spoke, the expressions of the elites from the alternate spacetime changed abruptly, disbelief on their faces. Perhaps he has gone even further than those celestial kings before. That ninth heaven peak stage celestial king spoke again. They were in different spacetime and mainly treated the realm sea as a battlefield, but they also had a very strong curiosity about this mysterious realm sea. Now, there was a pseudo-celestial emperor stepping onto the path of darkness, and they naturally could not miss this opportunity to follow and explore this mystery. It's him again. At this time, an eighth heaven celestial king cried out in surprise. He had just stopped his battle, and when he saw Chu Bei's appearance clearly, he recognized him at first glance. What? You know him. Quickly tell us where exactly he came from? Which era does he belong to? On the sea, a celestial king from the alternate space-time asked. This is the second time I have seen him. The last time I saw him, it was in the northern sea, and he killed a pseudo-celestial emperor. When he said this, that eighth heaven celestial king sucked in a cold breath. Who would have thought that when we met this time, he actually came to the path of darkness? Moreover, these two times, he belongs to different space-time. Are you sure? Hearing this, all the elites from the alternate space-time instantly. There's no mistaking it. The impression he has left on me is too deep. That eighth heaven celestial king was incredibly resolute. How is this possible? Even though we can go against the flow of time, we don't dare step foot into other spacetimes at all. We're deeply afraid that we'll rewrite the history of that spacetime and bring an indelible calamity upon ourselves. According to what I know, there was once a fourth heaven quasi-immortal emperor who reversed time and space and tried to kill his enemy in the cradle. In the end, he drew a great tribulation and was unable to enter the cycle of reincarnation. If what you said is true, then wouldn't this guy have stepped into two spacetimes and even killed a half-immortal emperor? With such a terrifying influence, how can he be completely fine? When the experts from another spacetime looked at Chu Bei again, their faces were filled with shock, and their eyes were filled with doubt and confusion. Even if that eighth heaven celestial king had repeatedly guaranteed that what he had said was true, this was still hard for them to believe. After all, this had overturned their understanding of the world. Rumble. At some point in time, a storm had been set off on the surface of the sea, and billowing black fog was churning. Chu Bei ignored the celestial king elites from another spacetime on both sides of the sea, and continued to advance along the path of darkness beneath his feet. Above the path of darkness, gales whistled past, destroying all things. The so-called wind was actually a symbol of great Tao, and one could see the rise and fall of various galaxies. However, there was no sign of life, and its might was unparalleled. Chu Bei looked ahead, his hands clasped behind his back as he stepped on the sea and advanced. Walala! Suddenly, in this sea region called the Path of Darkness, an ancient beast appeared. Its back was covered with bone spikes, and every bone spike was as black as ink. They shot up into the sky, and there were innumerable stars circling around them. It was incredibly ferocious, like a massive flood dragon covered in black scales. Black fog rose and fell in its massive blood-red eyes. Perhaps it had stayed in the path of darkness for too long, and this creature had already lost itself. It opened its bloody mouth and directly bit at Chu Bei. Facing that flood dragon ancient beast that pounced over, Chu Bei's expression didn't change at all. He didn't even give it a second look and raised a hand and tapped out with a finger. Boom! Accompanied by a loud sound, the ancient beast shattered, turning into rolling black fog that dissipated. It wasn't that the flood dragon ancient beast wasn't strong, but rather the opposite. Its cultivation level had already reached the 8th heaven celestial king tier, and it had swallowed innumerable powerful creatures in the realm sea. Even those celestial king tier elites from a different space-time were most likely no match for it. Unfortunately, it had chosen the wrong target this time. No matter how strong celestial kings were, they were still celestial kings in the end, and there was an insurmountable gulf between them and monarch tiers. But not long after, another figure targeted Chu Bei from the bottom of the sea. This was a draconic person with disheveled hair. He roared, dark fog wrapped around his body, and launched a fierce attack at Chu Bei, suddenly attacking him. His strength was even stronger, his cultivation level already reaching the 9th heaven of the celestial king tier, and was on par with the creature of darkness, Yushan. Unfortunately, he had also lost himself, and only lasted less than 3 seconds in Chu Bei's hands before he was killed. With these two as a warning, those terrifying creatures that had lost themselves in the sea instinctively changed directions and retreated to the sides, opening up a path for Chu Bei. As expected of an existence that has stepped into that realm, the existences on the path of darkness actually made way for him. If it were us, I'm afraid we would have died in the mouth of the first ancient beast. A group of experts from a different space-time looked at Chu Bei's back, muttering to themselves with envy in their eyes. Rumble, the waves churned, and the black fog rolled. Chu Bei continued to walk on the waves. Along the way, Chu Bei passed by many islands, and also saw the celestial kings that had mysteriously disappeared from this space-time. Of course, these islands were not on the path of darkness, but on the sea on both sides of the path of darkness. They were all still alive, each sitting cross-legged on an isolated island. When Chu Bei arrived, they opened their eyes one after another with surprise on their faces. Who is this person? He belongs to our space-time. He didn't come against the river of time. Why haven't I seen him before? Could it be that he's in existence before the age of Emperor Collapse? He actually walked along the path of darkness to here. Could it be that in this process, he didn't encounter those terrifying ancient beasts? He couldn't be thinking of entering that ultimate ancient land through the path of darkness, right? On the various islands, ancient celestial kings spoke out one after another. They looked at Chu Bei's back, shock on their faces. In recent days, they could feel that there was a dark storm brewing in the depths of the realm sea, and this mysterious person of unknown origins just happened to be heading alone at this time. Chu Bei's eyes swept over the ancient celestial kings on these islands and nodded slightly in acknowledgement, not stopping at all. After greeting the ancient celestial kings, Chu Bei continued to walk along the path of darkness. Aside from the beginning, there were no other ancient beasts in the sea that blocked Chu Bei's advance. This kind of peace continued until Chu Bei arrived at the depths of the realm sea. Chu Bei stopped advancing and looked ahead calmly. He saw a waterfall of darkness hanging down from the chaotic sky, like a rolling sea. Looking at the two sides of the path of darkness, The weakest of the elites from a different space-time that could follow Chu Bei here was already a seventh heaven celestial king. Boom! Chu Bei waved his right hand, and a dazzling white light turned into saber ray. Accompanied by a loud sound, a huge gap was cut open in the waterfall of darkness. It was also at this time that the sky above the waterfall of darkness began to distort. Closely after, one after another, palaces appeared, descending with supreme might. These palaces were connected to each other by divine rainbows. Aside from the soul-stirring black fog that curled around them, there was also a large number of mysterious seals that had the aura of Monarch Tao. So there is not only one guidance ancient palace. On the islands, the ancient celestial kings that belonged to this space-time in the first place stared in shock at those palaces in the sky, and they all sucked in a cold breath. They had never stepped onto the path of darkness, and because of that, it was also the first time that they had seen so many guidance ancient palaces. Chi, 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 chi. Innumerable creatures of darkness walked out from the various guidance ancient palaces. Their whole bodies were shrouded in black fog, and their eyes were filled with blood-red light. After a mere glance at Chu Bei, it was as if they had found prey, and they charged over crazily. Pseudo-celestial kings were rarely seen in the outside world, but in this guidance ancient palace, they had become ant-like existences. Kill! The densely packed creatures of darkness released gloomy and low shouts. How were these guys born? What is going on with their auras? Could it be that all of this is related to the end of the realm sea? The experts from another space-time first swept their eyes over the countless guidance ancient palaces, and then looked at the incomparably powerful army of darkness that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, and their expressions all changed in shock. As for Chu Bei, he was still incomparably calm, and his expression did not change in the slightest. With a clang, a golden disk appeared above his head, and green divine light gushed out from the disk. Just as the army of darkness was about to drown Chu Bei, the golden disk seemed to have become a terrifying giant mouth that was about to swallow him whole. From the giant mouth, green threads shot out, and the moment they touched the creatures of darkness, they immediately split into several threads that wrapped around them, and then dragged them into the bowl. Kacha! Kacha! In just a short few seconds, these creatures of darkness that were shrouded in black mist released miserable screams, and even a few creatures that were about to give birth to Emperor Dao Aura couldn't escape the disk's devouring. At the same time, a chilling chewing sound came from the center of the disk. The painful screams of the army of darkness became weaker and weaker until they completely disappeared. They all disappeared. Is that his Dao-proving Emperor weapon? The experts from another space-time who followed along the long river of time were all numb at this moment, staring blankly at the path of darkness, their expressions absent-minded. The army of darkness that numbered in the thousands was actually completely devoured by that golden disk in a few breaths of time, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. The ancient immortal kings in this space-time all widened their eyes in shock, their faces full of shock, all of them feeling that this was inconceivable. There were also some bold ones among them, slaughtering their way here in order to pacify the darkness source and resolve any future troubles. However, time was ruthless and reality was cruel. Only after stepping onto the path of darkness did they understand that with their strength, they really were powerless to defy the heavens. Chapter 490. After dealing with the army of darkness creatures, Chu Bei released several more punches in succession, smashing apart all of the guidance ancient palaces in the sky universe like crushing dry weeds and rotten wood. Then, he continued on his way. After passing through the waterfall of darkness, 3 figures appeared in front of him. Look, quickly. It's the 3 of them. Butcher, chicken farmer, and fake medicine seller. They are actually still alive. Furthermore, they have come here. The ancient celestial kings on the island that originally belonged to this space saw the appearance of the 3 figures clearly and immediately cried out in surprise. Not only them, but Hong Tian, Pan King, and the other celestial kings in the celestial realm also showed expressions of disbelief. No matter which of these three beings it was, they had all left behind indelible glorious deeds in the long river of history. Someone else has come. These three figures seemed to have noticed something and opened their eyes at the same time. They were very strong, terrifying celestial light coiling around their physiques. Symbols of great Tao were dazzling, densely packed, and protected their bodies. May I know who you are? Have you also avoided those ancient palaces? The one who spoke was a burly man. He was called Butcher. His skin was bronze, his hair messy, and he carried a bow on his back. The power he exuded was extraordinarily shocking and could be said to be matchless. Before setting foot in the realm sea, his cultivation level was already ninth heaven celestial king, and now he was just a little bit away from becoming a half-celestial emperor. Fellow celestial Butcher, this lord has directly come here after destroying all the guidance ancient palaces. Chu Bei did not answer Butcher's question, but there was an ancient celestial king who answered, "What?" Hearing that ancient celestial king's words, Butcher's eyes were filled with disbelief. No matter whether it was him or the other two, they had all used ancient techniques to avoid those guidance ancient palaces to come here, because even as strong as they were, they did not have the confidence to defeat those beings in the guidance ancient palaces. You are a monarch tier. That being called Chicken Farmer seemed to have noticed something, and there was a probing tone in her words. She was very delicate and pretty, staring at Chu Bei. Though she looked delicate, no one dared to underestimate her. Faintly, the aura that exuded from her body was not weaker than Butcher's, just that it was too restrained. In ancient times, the reason why she was jokingly called a chicken raiser was because she once raised a flock of true phoenixes in front of her residence. "Senior, I've seen you before. I've also seen your disciple, Celestial Emperor Yi. I didn't expect you to come to our space-time." Unlike the previous two, the figure selling fake medicine cupped his fists at Chu Bei with a respectful expression. "What? He is Celestial Emperor Ye's master. Are you talking about the quasi-immortal emperor who went against the flow of time to meet us?" Hearing that the situation of selling fake medicine had worsened, the butcher and the chicken farmer were shocked. Their mouths were wide open, and they looked at Chu Bei with more respect. "I didn't expect you guys to have interacted with little Yi." Chu Bei glanced at the three creatures, his gaze becoming friendly. "Senior, are you going to quell the origin of darkness?" The butcher, the fake drug seller, and the chicken farmer glanced at each other, then respectfully looked at Chu Bei and asked. Chu Bei nodded slightly and continued forward. "Senior, we are willing to follow you." The three creatures immediately spoke. They had waited for hundreds of millions of years, and their goal was to quell the origin of darkness. However, their own strength was not enough. Now that they saw an emperor arrive, they naturally wanted to lend him a hand. "I alone am enough." Chu Bei's voice was calm. After sweeping his gaze over the three creatures, he swept his gaze over the experts from the other space-time and the ancient immortal kings on both sides of the path of darkness. "As for you guys, just watch from afar. Senior, I'm afraid you don't know that the existence at the end of the realm sea is also an emperor." The butcher spoke with a solemn expression. "It's precisely because I know. So do you think with your strength, you can help me?" Chu Bei's lips curled up with a smile. Hearing Chu Bei's words, the three creatures sighed. They were indeed not qualified to participate in the battle between emperors. Perhaps they would be killed by the aftermath before they could even make a move. "Senior, are you sure you can do it alone? I wonder where your disciple Celestial Emperor Yi is now. Can you let him go against the river of time to help?" The butcher and the other two sighed, their expressions very helpless. They had cultivated for a long time, but in the end, they could only watch this emperor in front of them fight alone. Chu Bei smiled and did not answer, continuing on his journey. The butcher and the other two did not hesitate and immediately followed. As for the experts from the other space-time and the ancient immortal kings, after hesitating for a moment, they also continued to follow, but they clearly pulled apart the distance. As time passed, Chu Bei gradually walked to the end of the path of darkness, and the rolling black fog disappeared. Boom! The moment Chu Bei stepped out of the path of darkness, a terrifying storm attacked. Countless great Tao symbols swept out, surging with killing intent. Chu Bei did not move at all. A majestic aura seeped out of his body, directly shattering the storm. Is this the end of the path of darkness? At some point, the experts from the other spacetime and the ancient immortal kings also stepped into the path of darkness. After all, in the sea region outside the path of darkness, there were still attacks from terrifying ancient beasts. On the contrary, this path of darkness became incomparably safe because of Chu Bei's existence. The end of the path of darkness was still the realm sea, but the sky above the sea was chaotic and hazy. There was no vitality here, nor was there essence energy circulating. It was lifeless, like a kingdom of death. The most terrifying thing was that the great Tao laws in this sea region were even more strange. Even those as strong as the Butcher and the other two also felt an indescribable pressure. Walala, perhaps because of the arrival of Chu Bei and the others, this originally calm sea region inexplicably surged. Gradually, more and more corpses floated to the surface from the bottom of the sea. They had been silent for who knew how many tens of thousands of years. Their bodies released cold light, not moving at all. But those who could reach here were all peak existences among immortal kings, and even some had already comprehended the profound meaning of Emperor. Without a doubt, these corpses came here either to explore the end of the realm sea or to quell the source of the darkness. Unfortunately, their strength was not enough, and in the end, they became floating corpses in the realm sea. All of you, hurry and look over there. There is an island floating over. Right at this time, an ancient immortal king cried out in alarm. This was an island that wasn't that large, and it was completely bare. The most eye-catching thing was that there was a person seated on the island. He had turned into flames, and his body no longer existed. Right now, he was releasing an incomparably terrifying might. This aura, it's another D-Emperor. Is he dead? A half-immortal emperor died. The Butcher, fake medicine seller, and the other peak immortal kings sensed this power. When they looked at the figure that turned into flames, their expressions immediately changed. There is another tree. Another ancient immortal king cried out in alarm. When they looked over, there was a damaged willow tree on that island that was about to be completely destroyed. It was only a foot tall, rising and falling in the fiery light that half-immortal emperor turned into. Willow deity. When they saw the willow tree that was on the verge of collapse in the flames, the experts in Realm C still didn't show much of a reaction. In Immortal Domain, Shurhao cried out, his emotions greatly fluctuating. At the Immortal King level, there were some things that he could already guess a few things. He also knew that the willow deity that protected Stone Village wasn't ordinary. However, he never expected that after 1,000 years, the willow deity actually arrived at the end of the path of darkness, moreover about to have its body and spirit wiped out. Fortunately, there was the fiery light that half-immortal emperor turned into, temporarily entering a state of extinction, not completely withering away. Shurhao's figure moved, disappearing from Immortal Domain, appearing above Realm C, moving along the path of darkness. Ancestral guardian spirit. It is actually still alive. Only, it is a pity that it is also about to reach its end. The Butcher, Chicken Farmer, Hong Tian, Pan King, and the other ancient immortal kings also recognized the willow tree's origins, their eyes flashing with shock. What exactly did this half-immortal emperor and ancestral guardian spirit encounter? An immortal king muttered to himself. Wong Wong Wong. The moment the immortal king's attention was focused on the flame formed by the half-immortal emperor and the willow tree's body, a strange wong noise sounded from the limits of the primal chaos sea. Immediately afterwards, large amounts of grand and massive buildings floated over, getting closer and closer. It was unknown which great era these buildings were constructed in, their auras majestic, intimidating. Even if it was creatures at the immortal king level, as long as they tried to see what was going on, they would be mysteriously suppressed, unable to help but bow down. Those buildings, could it be that they are a city? At the end of Realm C is a floating city? Could it be that the emperor the creatures of darkness spoke of is there? There are still living existences in that city. While looking at the city that floated over from the distance, the butcher, chicken farmer, fake medicine seller, experts from the other space-time, and ancient immortal kings all revealed expressions of shock. At the same time, vigilance appeared on their faces. This city was incomparably massive, actually having endless stars swirling about it, floating on the sea surface just like that. In its surroundings, surging darkness rose and fell, mist surging. Honglong. Suddenly, a loud noise sounded. A streak of symbols shot out from within the city, floating into the sea. Immediately afterwards, those floating corpses that had been dead for who knew how many millions and millions of years slapped towards Chu Bei. Unfortunately, before these corpses could even touch Chu Bei, they were blasted into ashes by the invisible force around Chu Bei, dissipating with a loud bang. Chi. At this time, the symbols that shot out from within the city suddenly erupted with immortal radiance, and then turned into a demonic dragon, pitch black like an abyss. It roared as it pounced murderously at Chu Bei, erupting with world-shocking might. Nothing more than the manifestation of natural laws. Chu Bei was expressionless, casually reaching out his right hand. Cold white radiance extended from his palm, instantly wrapping around this dark demonic dragon's body. Then, only to see Chu Bei's right hand clench slightly, that cold white radiance that wrapped around the dark demonic dragon like a spider web suddenly contracted. Then, one could only hear a miserable dragon roar. Roar. The dragon roar shook the heavens, the sea surface even exploding. This primal chaos realm sea was trembling. It erupted with the power of a quasi-immortal emperor, struggling to break free from the white radiance for a short period of time. It opened its ferocious mouth and bit towards Chu Bei. Chu Bei was indifferent. He leaned forward and reached out his hand. This time, he directly suppressed it with the golden disc. The dark demonic dragon roared, frantically struggling with its huge body. Unfortunately, no matter how it released the might of a quasi-immortal emperor, it was still unable to break through the golden disc above it. Bang! In the end, the dark demonic dragon exploded. Black blood soared like a volcano erupting. Quasi-immortal emperor natural laws wreaked havoc, even blasting away the chaotic mist above the sea surface. A demonic dragon with the aura of an emperor. Is that formed from the runes created by the emperor of the dark creatures? An emperor. What kind of existence is that? Looking at the dark demonic dragon that had been blasted into nothingness, the expressions of the immortal kings suddenly changed, and their gazes once again turned towards the mysterious city. Chapter 491. It took this emperor hundreds of millions of years to bring out these powerful people. But just now, you killed all of them and even killed this emperor's guardian beast. You deserve to die. Suddenly, an ancient and oppressive low voice sounded in this chaotic Star Island domain. This voice was untraceable, but it also seemed to be everywhere. It sounded clearly in everyone's mind, causing them to feel a chill down their spine. Who's talking? The immortal kings were shocked. They released their divine senses to the maximum, but they couldn't detect anything. Then, they all looked in the direction of the city, their expressions becoming more and more solemn and vigilant. You don't have the qualifications to say such words to me. Chu Bei was silent. He only looked forward with an incomparably calm gaze. How dare you? Two cold syllables echoed. That voice was too terrifying. The next moment, under the gazes of countless immortal kings, a blurry figure appeared above the city. Although they couldn't see the appearance of this figure clearly, it gave them the feeling of a peerless emperor looking directly at it. He floated above the city and swept his cold gaze across the group of immortal kings. The aura he unintentionally released caused them to tremble. It was as if the soul of an existence, as strong as an immortal king, would be turned to dust with a single thought. Is he the emperor that those creatures of darkness are talking about? It must be him. Is he the owner of this city? Could it be that the source of the dark matter is in this city? The group of immortal kings guessed the origin of that blurry figure, and fear appeared on their faces. They all retreated into the distance immediately. As for Chu Bei, he was still calm when he met the gaze of the Dark Emperor. His purple robe fluttered, and an invincible aura that looked down on all eternity flowed. Do you see that ball of flame? He was a quasi-immortal emperor like us and crossed the sea from the age of emperor collapse. What's laughable is that he actually threatened to suppress the source of the darkness and was stubborn, so he died. The blurry figure above the city spoke in a cold voice. You are the same as him. You are destined to die here. What? That being who crossed the sea in the age of emperor collapse. Could it be that he's the quasi-immortal emperor who left the first set of footprints on the dam? As expected, he really died. Could it be that Senior will also have the same ending? Hearing the blurry figure's words, the group of immortal kings looked at the human-shaped flame. At the same time, their eyes were filled with respect and pity. In order to quell the chaos of darkness, this quasi-immortal emperor had set out on his own, but in the end, he had fallen. You're saying that I'm a quasi-immortal emperor like you? Chu Bei smiled. Then, he glanced at the blurry figure above the city and said, Ask them to come out as well. It saves me the trouble of killing them one by one. After saying that, the golden disc returned to Chu Bei's back and released a blinding golden light, instantly illuminating the entire chaotic Star Island domain. The sinister black fog disappeared, making it look extremely holy. Them? Could it be that the darkness creatures have more than one emperor? When they heard Chu Bei's words, all the immortal kings were stunned, and then they glanced at each other with surprise. You think too highly of yourself. Above the city, the blurry figure grunted coldly, and it carried killing intent. As soon as he shouted coldly, boundless dark symbols surged from his body. After that, an enormous black palm that was almost shriveled up swiftly and heavily slapped towards Chu Bei, and it carried the monstrous might of an emperor. If one looked carefully, there were actually stars revolving within the terrifying palm. Rivers of stars surged, a region of stars opened up, and chaos coiled around it. There was even a path of reincarnation that was faintly discernible. Chu Bei smiled and was fearless. His purple clothes fluttered, and he clenched his fist and smashed it out. His fist didn't look large, but it emanated gorgeous light and supreme energy interweaved. It was like the creation of the world, and it carried boundless might of an emperor. Bang! A world-shocking collision caused the entire chaotic Star Island to wail and tremble. The path of darkness collapsed completely, and the sky cracked apart, forming a boundless storm of darkness. Terrifying collision shockwaves rippled outwards. In that city that had existed for millions and millions of years, ancient palaces collapsed one after another, giant rocks flying everywhere, thick pillars breaking apart, darkness, immortal gold tiles shattering, scattering in all directions. Even though this city was protected by a supreme emperor formation, it still couldn't escape the fate of collapsing into ruins and floating in the sea. The first clash between two supreme experts that carried the aura of emperors shook the entire Tianyu realm sea. Is this a battle of emperors? The hearts of all the immortal kings palpitated, especially the experts who were watching the battle from the other space-time. The river of time beneath their feet seemed to have been cut off. My name is Emperor Tong. A low and hoarse voice rang out. The blurry figure took a step forward and stomped down heavily. The surging black fog in the surroundings dispersed. His figure couldn't be considered tall and sturdy, and could even be described as skinny. His blood-red eyes were like two red lights, or it could be said that they were more like two red lanterns on the path of death, incomparably terrifying. His sharp gaze was enough to tear apart immortal kings. The emperor clothes he wore were old and ancient. When worn on his bony figure, they seemed loose and plump. On his head, there was an emperor crown that flowed with nine-colored brilliance. There was a faint black energy flow that curled about, strange and terrifying. Chu Bei indifferently glanced at Emperor Tong. His body didn't move, his black hair fluttering about, his eyes becoming increasingly fierce. What a pity! Lamentable, lamentable. Emperor Tsong shook his head, his sigh fading. With a dang-lang sound, a black bone club that was shining appeared in his hand. This was a half-immortal emperor-level weapon. The end of the club had the manifestation of a star domain, smashing towards Chu Bei. Chu Bei's expression still didn't change at all, calm and collected. With a wave of his right hand, the surrounding supreme power formed a thin sword. Resplendent sword radiance illuminated this primal chaos realm sea, especially dazzling. Chu Bei held the sword in his hand, divine radiance flowing about, as if an immortal emperor had descended into the world of mortals, possessing an unmatched aura. A sword brandished out, facing Emperor Tong. Hong. The two collided, erupting with mysterious symbols, hacking apart the sky dome, severing the long river of time, turning this instant into eternity. After millions and millions of years, I finally encountered someone who can make me attack to my heart's content. However, what a pity. Your ending is destined to be the same as his. Emperor Tsong looked coldly at Chu Bei, at the same time pointing at that flame, saying this, "Nothing more than an ant." Chu Bei's lips carried a smile, his expression calm and composed. Truly arrogant. Emperor Tsong released a cold snort. He opened his mouth, spitting out a 9-colored pagoda. It quickly enlarged, suppressing towards Chu Bei. The scene was terrifying, carrying the power of time, swirling about with supreme power of natural laws, blasting forward. Wong Wong Wong. Chu Bei didn't reply. Only the golden disc behind him trembled. The mouth of the bowl turned into a pool of laws, producing all things, the laws of the heavens appearing, protecting Chu Bei, making him impervious to all methods. The 9-colored pagoda smashed down. The golden disc met it head-on, surging with immeasurable immortal emperor power, blasting the former aside. Hong Long Long. A true great battle was about to erupt. Emperor Tsong and Chu Bei's hands continuously formed supreme seals, attacking each other. This was a battle between emperors. The spectating immortal kings continuously pulled apart the distance. Even though they were supreme experts themselves, they still couldn't block the might of the aftershocks. Gradually, this chaotic Star Island domain became chaotic. The two figures opened up their own battlefield, weaving about in the long river of time, fighting fiercely. Kill. Above the chaotic realm sea, the two figures continuously changed, opening up brand new worlds one after another. This terrifying and intense battle went on for who knew how long. The two figures broke through the primal chaos, collapsing the sky dome, even the realm sea sinking. Pooh! Finally, the space between Emperor Tsong's brows exploded, pierced through by the thin sword in Chu Bei's hand. The tip of the sword released resplendent light that illuminated the past, present, and future, peerless. That emperor of the creatures of darkness is bleeding. Senior Chu has the advantage. In that case, Senior really might be able to eradicate the source of darkness. It's extremely difficult to kill even people of our cultivation realm, let alone those high and mighty emperors. Speaking of which, from the looks of it, although that emperor of the creatures of darkness is bleeding, it's probably impossible for Senior Chu to kill him. The Butcher, the ancient immortal king, and the other experts from the other spacetime were shocked. They looked at Chu Bei with even more respect. I've lost. Emperor Tsong's injuries instantly healed. He looked at Chu Bei in a daze, and then laughed somewhat crazily. You're very strong. You shouldn't have come now. Perhaps after a period of seclusion, you might really be able to suppress this place. How long are you going to watch from the sidelines? With that, Emperor Tsong turned his head and looked behind him. His eyes narrowed, and a beam of light shot into the depths of the sea. Be careful. At this moment, a weak voice sounded in the minds of all the cultivators in this sea region. It's that quasi-immortal emperor from the age of Emperor Collapse. Could it be that he's not completely dead yet? Billions of years have passed, but that quasi-immortal emperor still retains his divine sense. What exactly did he experience back then? The butcher, the chicken farmer, and the other immortal kings all looked at the human-shaped flame on the island. At some point, an illusory face had actually appeared in that human-shaped flame, as if it would dissipate at any moment. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Amidst the rumbling, a purple-gold path appeared at the end of the chaotic Star Island domain, rumbling. All kinds of avatars appeared around it. There were golden lotuses circling around it, and divine birds flying in the air. Under the gazes of all the immortal kings, a living being walked over on the path. He wore a purple-gold crown and had a tall figure. All kinds of seals surrounded him, and the oppressive aura he released with each step was suffocating. This was a quasi-immortal emperor weaker than Emperor Tsong, and he had descended on the battlefield just like that. There's more than one emperor of the creatures of darkness? Looking at the newly appeared being wearing a purple-gold crown, the immortal kings gasped and instinctively retreated into the distance. Chapter 492. Gray Emperor. I already don't remember how many great eras have passed, yet I still haven't seen you suffer a single defeat. In Realm C, the purple-crowned creature spoke, his voice rumbling, accompanied by the power of time, as if it came from millions and millions of years ago. Grand Emperor, why don't you try fighting him alone? Gray Emperor sneered, his face carrying displeasure. Grand Emperor was also at the third-level half-immortal Emperor realm. Purple energy overflowed into the heavens, great Tao symbols interweaving as his eyes swirled about. His aura wasn't weaker than Gray Emperor's in the slightest. The aura from his mouth and nose naturally swirled about, making the Star River realm see crack apart. Sleeping through the endless ages, are you someone who came later? Or were you born when primal chaos first opened like us? Grand Emperor looked towards Chu Bei, incomparably calm. Chu Bei calmly looked at Grand Emperor, a smile on the corners of his lips, not saying anything. Just like that person, you don't understand heaven's mysteries, stubbornly clinging to your own course. I can only send you on your way. Just like Gray Emperor, Grand Emperor also reached out a finger, pointing at the half-immortal spirit that turned into flames, his eyes cold. Feather Emperor, stop sleeping. Let's take action together to avoid any accidents. Grand Emperor looked in another direction. Purple energy surged for millions and millions of li, as if it surrounded the entire Realm C. Disturbing my sleep? You deserve death. As Grand Emperor's voice sounded, in the northern limits, a low voice sounded, shaking up heaven and earth. Then, a wave of powerful killing energy surged. Blazing radiance filled the heavens, divine and resplendent, illuminating the endless ages. Emperor Might appeared. Another peerless being was born. They only saw a dazzling ancient war chariot that swirled with brilliance, suppressing heaven and earth. The war chariot rumbled with noise. 9 ancient beasts rushed over, appearing at Gray Emperor and Grand Emperor's side. These 9 ancient beasts all released endless might, every single one of their horns sinister, scales thick. They looked like true dragons, but they also weren't, belonging to a desolate ancient race that had never been seen before. Hong. Following an explosive noise, the war chariot exploded, turning into a divine rain of light that pervaded the air. This was a creature with divine wings on its back, similarly a half-immortal emperor. 3 darkness emperors. No wonder that Emperor Great One from the age of Emperor Collapse would nurse a grievance here. The creatures of darkness have 3 great emperors. How could he face them all? That's right. Those who can cultivate to this level are all the strongest experts of their epoch. Who would be weaker than another? Even though Senior defeated Emperor Tsong just now, the creatures of darkness have 3 emperors on their side. He's in a bad situation. Looking at the 3 half-immortal emperors of the darkness creatures, the group of ancient immortal kings' expressions were incomparably ugly, extremely heavy. The so-called Dark Age, is this all you're doing? We've always minded our own business. Why are you doing this? The butcher spoke in a low voice. Who do you think you are? Do you have the right to speak here? Grand Emperor spoke, his voice cold. Purple energy surged from his entire body. As soon as Cold in the forest finished speaking, a terrifying and majestic pressure enveloped the butcher. As he opened and closed his eyes, the sky cracked and countless stars turned into dust. Puff. The butcher immediately let out a shrill cry and spat out blood. If it weren't for Chu Bei shaking off the emperor's pressure in time, the butcher would have probably been turned into nothingness and disappeared from this world. The butcher retreated to the side, unwillingness on his face, but he didn't dare to speak again. Just now, he truly felt the terror of a half-immortal emperor. Even though he had faintly touched that realm, he still wasn't. In front of a true half-immortal emperor, he was no different from an ant. That dark matter is summoning our people. If they are fated, they will be guided over. Unfortunately, there are too few fated ones. Emperor Tsang spoke, his long gray hair scattered. Speaking up to hear, Emperor Tsang's gaze became cold, fixed on Chu Bei's body. And you actually slaughtered all the fated ones in one go. Fortunately, there are quite a few of these fellows following you, so they can make up for some of the losses. Hearing Emperor Tsang's words, the group of ancient, immortal kings inexplicably shivered. Even the experts from the other space-time had a bad premonition in their hearts. However, before they could react, Emperor Tsang's hands intertwined, as if he was performing some kind of terrifying Emperor divine ability. Rumble. In the next moment, with a loud sound, a dark cage fell from the collapsed sky. Not good. The expressions of the experts from the other space-time changed drastically. The moment the dark cage appeared, the long river of time under their feet was directly cut off. No matter how strong they were, they couldn't go against the flow of time and return to their own space-time. In short, they were forced to stay in this space-time by the dark cage above their heads. The ancient immortal kings who originally belonged to this space-time also showed a terrified expression. When the dark cage fell, they were imprisoned and couldn't escape. What are you trying to do? We don't belong to the same space-time. Aren't you afraid of karma by doing this? The experts from the other space-time stared at Emperor Tsang and questioned one after another. Karma? What a joke. If you were also emperors, perhaps this emperor would be somewhat afraid. But a mere immortal king, even if there is karma, this emperor has nothing to fear. Emperor Tsang sneered, his cold eyes disdainfully sweeping across the experts from the other space-time. Damn it, are we really going to stay here? We've become the so-called dark creatures. Hearing Emperor Tsang's words, the experts from the other space-time looked even more unsightly. Master, is Willow Deity still doing well? On the collapsed path of darkness, Shurhao hurried over, his voice carrying worry. I've seen you before in the great river of time, an unknown seed of disaster. You should be killed. When he saw Shurhao, Grand Emperor immediately frowned. He directly attacked, a large hand slapping towards Shurhao from the distance, ruthless and cold, wishing to wipe out his soul and flesh. Are you ignoring this one? Chu Bei's voice was indifferent. With a raise of his hand, an expanse of white radiance surrounded Shurhao, wrapping around him, easily stopping that large hand's strike. Then I'll just kill you first. With a honglong noise, Emperor Tsang took action again. His right fist clenched, directly smashing towards Chu Bei. Layer after layer of fist imprints overlapped, the aura incomparably terrifying. Chu Bei's face didn't show any fear. The thin sword in his hands brandished, sword radiance shooting in all directions, blasting the fist imprints that wrapped around countless stars into pieces. At the same time, Feather Emperor also took action. He floated above the 9 ancient divine beasts, the divine wings behind him moving, auspicious multicolored light surging. The Emperor's spear in his hands pierced out, his target aimed at Chu Bei. Regardless of whether it was Emperor Tsang, Grand Emperor, or Feather Emperor, they were all existences that towered at the peak of this world. Meanwhile, right now, they worked together, surrounding and attacking Chu Bei together. Under incomparable heaven-shocking explosions, the 4 figures blasted apart this primal chaos sea until the heavens collapsed and seas split apart. Many star domains evaporating, turning into nothingness. Primal chaos surged crazily, as if they returned to the age when primal chaos first opened. On the battlefield, Chu Bei suffered the joint attacks of 3 half-immortal emperors, but from his calm appearance, it didn't seem like it was strenuous at all, to the extent where he was even handling a butcher's cleaver with ease. At the same cultivation realm, fighting 1 against 3, not at all inferior. While watching the intense battle, the experts from the other space-time and the ancient immortal kings all became numb. Then, a look of hope appeared in their eyes. Senior Chu really is unmatched in the same cultivation realm. No wonder he could produce a disciple like Heavenly Emperor Yi. But in the end, he is still just one person. If we can also enter the half-immortal Emperor realm, how great would that be? The butcher, chicken farmer, fake medicine seller, the three-peak immortal kings looked at each other, releasing sighs of admiration. In immortal domain, Hong Tian, Pan King, and the other immortal kings stared blankly at the scene in the sky dome, their eyes filled with disbelief. When they saw that the creatures of darkness had 3 half-immortal emperors, their hearts immediately sunk to the bottom. In their opinion, no matter how strong this Senior Chu was, there was no way he could be the opponent of 3 half-immortal emperors. His final conclusion might very well be the same as that half-immortal emperor from the age of Emperor Collapse, nursing a grievance here. However, what they didn't expect was that even though they were at the same cultivation realm, their senior great one still wasn't at a disadvantage. If this disciple was given a few more years, this disciple would be able to fight side by side with your respected self. Sure Hao looked at Chu Bei, who was continuously changing positions on the battlefield, his fists tightly clenching. His face surged with strong battle intent, but also a bit of helplessness. Hong Long Long. On the battlefield, all types of unmatched emperor techniques appeared. Chu Bei fought a great battle against Gray Emperor, Grand Emperor, and Feather Emperor alone. The battle incredibly intense, already reaching its climax. If not for the 4 of them opening up a new battlefield above Primal Chaos Realm C, perhaps even those ancient immortal kings and experts from the other spacetime in the darkness prison would have already died, their Tao erased. It wasn't that these immortal kings were weak, but rather that the shockwaves of a half-immortal emperor battle really were too terrifying. It was far from what immortal kings could endure. Meanwhile, at this time, Gray Emperor, Grand Emperor, and Feather Emperor also became more and more alarmed as they fought, their expressions becoming increasingly grave and ugly. The 3 of them already joined hands, displaying all types of emperor techniques, but they still couldn't kill this emperor of unknown origins. The other party's power didn't originate from the same source as theirs, extremely strange. They had never come into contact with it before. The longer the battle went on, the more resolute Gray Emperor, Grand Emperor, and Feather Emperor's eyes became. They had to kill Chu Bei, or else the other party would become a great disaster for them. It was also at this moment that the barren island floating on the surface of the chaotic realm sea suddenly started shaking violently. Hurry and look at that island. Could it be that the half-immortal emperor from the era of Emperor Collapse is still alive? In the darkness prison, an ancient immortal king noticed the abnormality of the island and cried out in alarm. Boom! Just as more and more ancient immortal kings and experts from the other spacetime cast their gazes towards that island, an explosive sound came from the island. Then, flames overflowed into the sky, burning fiercely, illuminating the entire Primal Chaos Realm sea. There were even flames that penetrated into the battlefield of Chu Bei, Gray Emperor, and the other 2. It's really difficult to die completely. Did he come back to life again? Hearing the commotion, Grand Emperor, Gray Emperor, and Feather Emperor glanced at the island, their expressions even more unsightly. Fellow immortal, I can still help a little. Amidst the rumbling, an ethereal voice came from the island. Looking over, not only was the human-shaped flame on the island even more intense, the broken willow tree and the flames also grew again, rapidly growing stronger. Stop it! In the battlefield, Grand Emperor shouted. Almost at the same time, Grand Emperor, Gray Emperor, and Feather Emperor gave up on attacking Chu Bei and turned to attack that island. Chapter 493. Are you all looking down on this great one? His voice carrying a smile echoed through the primal chaos void. Chu Bei brandished his sword, powerfully stopping Grand Emperor and the other 2. Damn it! Truly troublesome. Under Chu Bei's pressure, Grand Emperor and the other two had no choice but to give up on attacking that island. Gradually, the human-shaped fiery light became more and more solid. That willow tree also glowed with new life, dark green and flourishing, carrying surging life aura. Under the eyes of the immortal kings, the two began to merge. When they completely fused together, a huge wave of quasi-immortal emperor pressure burst out. At this moment, that half-immortal emperor from the age of Emperor Collapse who nursed a grievance merged with Willow Deity, releasing an aura that wasn't inferior to Grand Emperor and Feather Emperor's aura. When we were in Stone Village, I thought you were only an immortal king. Who would have thought that you were actually an emperor? This was Willow Deity who spoke. Is the emperor you speak of a half-immortal emperor? After Chu Bei blasted Gray Emperor back with a fist, he turned around to give Willow Deity a look, chuckling, and then nodded, indicating that this was his greeting. Willow Deity, are you okay? Sure Hao called out. I won't die for now. Willow Deity looked towards Sure Hao, eyes carrying gratification. The two of us together can only help you stop one of them, and the time is limited. This time, the one who spoke was that half-immortal emperor from the age of Emperor Collapse, speaking to Chu Bei. When his voice fell, the two merged into a scarlet-red willow tree appeared on the battlefield. This emperor will suppress you all one more time. Feather Emperor shouted, breaking away from his battle with Chu Bei, raising the war spear and slaughtering his way towards the scarlet-red willow tree. Back then, when we fought one-on-one, I wasn't weaker than you. An ice-cold and overcast voice sounded. The scarlet-red willow tree swayed, carrying primal chaos and endless blazing fiery light. Several primal chaos willow branches shot out, sweeping towards Feather Emperor. Fight! The scarlet-red willow tree and Feather Emperor interweaved together, both sides not holding back, both of them using their most powerful precious techniques, fighting incomparably intensely. As for the other side of the battlefield, without Emperor Yu, Grand Emperor and Emperor Tsong clearly felt the pressure on their bodies rise sharply. In an instant, they were forced to retreat bit by bit, and could only be in a defensive state. Chu Bei's attacks were truly too ferocious. Before the first wave had even subsided, another wave had risen. It was extremely terrifying. Rumble. The vast chaotic realm sea was in turmoil under the impact of the 5 great emperors. The ancient beasts in the sea below had either died or fled. The emperor's aura surged into the sky, surging endlessly. As time passed, the crimson willow's figure began to fade, as if it was slowly disappearing. When they looked at Grand Emperor and Gray Emperor again, these two individuals were already coughing out blood, beaten back step after step by Chu Bei. From time to time, there would be areas that would explode, turning into a rain of great Tao light. Emperor Yu, come and help. Grand Emperor and Gray Emperor's auras became chaotic. They had already begun to burn their blood essence to block Chu Bei's attacks. Hearing this, Feather Emperor frowned. He also wanted to immediately go and help. However, his battle wasn't over yet. He couldn't get away, and he was powerless. Pooh! Gray Emperor coughed out blood. His chest was pierced through by Chu Bei's sword. The flesh there exploded, bones releasing pai-pa sounds, black blood scattering out. Sacrifice all things. Grand Emperor roared out. His entire body released dark light, distorting space, making the primal chaos collapse, turning into his source power. The wings on his back swirled with yin and yang energies, producing the divine abilities of the Kuan Pong, True Phoenix, Lightning Emperor, and other heavenly experts. At this moment, Grand Emperor's wings were like heaven and earth's black and white, yin and yang, the embodiment of two opposing sides, the power matchless. Pong. However, when Grand Emperor's killing move had just been activated, it was hacked apart by Chu Bei's sword. Immediately afterwards, following a low noise, Grand Emperor's wings were blasted flying, badly mangled. It was a ghastly sight. Above the chaotic realm sea, on an independent battlefield, black clouds surged, the heavenly dome cracked, countless stars collapsing. Rumbling sounds of explosions rang out continuously. This was the scarlet willow tree formed by that half-immortal emperor from the age of Emperor Collapse who merged with Willow Deity, fighting a great battle against Feather Emperor. The battle became more and more intense. Perhaps because it had been fighting for a long time, the scarlet willow tree gradually became transparent. Let's see just how much longer you two can hold on for. Back then, you weren't my match. Now, with just a strand of your soul and a ruined willow tree, you still vainly wish to stop me? Feather Emperor was truly angered, darkness force surging around his body. He was extremely strong, the most powerful of the three half-immortal emperors. When the deep and cold voice sounded, the war spear in Feather Emperor's hands stabbed out, the spearhead piercing through countless star domains, instantly appearing in front of the scarlet willow tree. You still have the face to bring up the events of the past? Truly laughable. The scarlet willow tree released a cold snort. Its body that was already becoming transparent shone with vitality again. Primal chaos branches lashed out, striking the spear. Kong-chong noises rang out, releasing dazzling light. At the same time, raging flames turned into divine chains of order, smashing murderously towards Feather Emperor's true body. This time, I will definitely make you all truly die. The divine wings behind Feather Emperor moved, powerful winds sweeping about. Perhaps I will reach the end, but you will die before me. The Scarlet Willow deity released a laugh. When he heard this, Feather Emperor's brows furrowed tightly, looking towards the other battlefield. Over there, Gray Emperor and Grand Emperor's bodies continuously exploded and recombined, aura fluctuations becoming more and more chaotic. Feather Emperor, when exactly are you going to come and help? In that battlefield, Gray Emperor and Grand Emperor's voices sounded, carrying worry and fear. From a normal perspective, at their level, there was already no such thing as death. However, if millions and millions of them were killed, their Emperor source would still be exhausted. At that time, they would truly die. Meanwhile, when Gray Emperor and Grand Emperor faced Chu Bei, they couldn't help but shiver inwardly. This type of feeling was as if death was already waving at them. We can't drag things out any longer. I must ask World Eradication Senior to take action. Gray Emperor was blasted into a bloody paste by Chu Bei's fist again. After recombining, he immediately pulled apart the distance between him and Chu Bei, moreover looking towards Grand Emperor. The two exchanged a look, communicating through their eyes, as if they reached a unanimous decision. Then, their hands formed strange, unmatched purple-red imprints at the same time. Honglong. As the two purple-red imprints entered the limits of Primal Chaos Realm C, a terrifying noise sounded from the limits of Realm C. At the same time, dazzling and resplendent radiance erupted. Right at this moment, in that deathly still sea region, the eyelids of a ruined corpse that was originally floating on the surface of the sea moved, slowly opening its eyes. We are all the same type of people, so why is there a need to kill each other? Why bother? Immediately afterwards, the ruined corpse released a voice, ringing through the entire Realm C, sinister and overcast. At the limits of Primal Chaos Realm C, it was cold and desolate. Since the age of Emperor Collapse, there had been no sound for millions and millions of years. However, when this voice sounded, heaven-shocking changes happened. The brilliance released by that ruined corpse's eyes had stellar streams appearing, star domains interweaving. Just the Emperor force carried by the eyes was already comparable to or even greater than the most powerful attacks of Grand Emperor and the others, extremely intimidating. Walala, Primal Chaos Realm C seemed to have completely exploded. Not only did it surge violently, crazy winds even swept about the sea surface, to the extent where raging black flames curled about. Above the sea surface, countless brownish-purple lightning exploded in the darkness, all types of terrifying, irregular scenes appearing. Could it be that there are even more powerful emperors on the side of the creatures of darkness? It seems to be related to the seals released by Grand Emperor and Gray Emperor. Moreover, from the way they address him, the seniority of the one who spoke is even above theirs. How could it be like this? The current situation is already very confusing. If the one who spoke joins in, Senior Lord will be in danger. The group of immortal kings in the darkness cage immediately focused their eyes towards the end of Primal Chaos Realm C, all of their expressions incomparably grave. Senior World Annihilation, we have no intention of disturbing your rest. Right now, we really have no other choice. Please don't blame us. Gray Emperor, Grand Emperor, and Feather Emperor immediately cupped their fists towards the end, their words incomparably respectful. It looks like a ruined corpse. No, it's a living creature. The butcher, the chicken farmer, the fake medicine seller, and the other extreme immortal kings seem to have seen something clearly, crying out in alarm. At this level, what is there for you to be reluctant to part with? Is it worth it to kill each other for a group of ants? You have to know that we are the same kind of people. At the end of Primal Chaos Realm C, a gloomy and low voice drifted over again, shaking everyone's hearts. At this moment, the ruined corpse on the sea surface at the end slowly got up, coldly looking in the direction of Chu Bei, Grand Emperor, and the others. Its withered body began to radiate vitality, showing signs of life. Upon closer inspection, it only had one leg and one arm. The hair on its head was withered and yellow like wild grass, giving one a feeling of having experienced the vicissitudes of time. Wong. It was only to see the ruined corpse raise its single arm and point towards the north. With a Wong sound, in a bloody ancient land, an arm rose into the air, connecting with the ruined corpse's body, completely recombining. At almost the same time, great waves surged into the heavens in the south. A severed leg carried blood as it tore through the sky, also recombining with the ruined corpse. In just a few short seconds, the ruined corpse's body became complete. As its body recovered, its robes fluttered, erupting with heaven overflowing black mist. In an instant, the entire realm sea was covered by black clouds. That was darkness source energy that was dense to the point where it couldn't be dispersed. This was a gray-robed elder. His figure was withered and tall, but his eyes were incomparably brilliant, dazzling, and terrifying. He's here. Under the shocked gazes of the group of immortal kings, the gray-robed elder took a step out, bringing boundless pressure with him, directly descending on the battlefield Chu Bei was in. The seawater below directly exploded, forming a vacuum zone. His aura is indeed above Gray Emperor, Feather Emperor, and the others. The gray-robed elder appeared in the battlefield. The butcher, chicken farmer, and the other immortal kings also truly sensed the former's terrifying aura. Their expressions suddenly changed, becoming ugly to the extreme. The Crimson Willow turned into a human form, frowning. This gray-robed elder who suddenly appeared, the power of darkness within his body was really too vast, even surpassing Gray Emperor, Feather Emperor, and Grand Emperor combined. As for Chu Bei, his expression still didn't change much, only calmly shooting a glance at the gray-robed elder. Senior World Devastator, Gray Emperor, Grand Emperor, and Feather Emperor immediately arrived in front of the gray-robed elder, incomparably polite. You don't need to say it, I also know the purpose of his trip this time. The gray-robed elder glanced at Gray Emperor and the other two, nodding slightly in greeting. Then, his gaze fixed on Chu Bei's body. As the elder's voice fell, with himself as the center, a powerful might rippled out, oppressing Realm C until it was turbulent. Monstrous waves surged into the sky, pervading the universe. In an instant, the boundless Realm Sea was filled with the power of darkness, becoming even darker. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.